Chapter 3505. Where is the Black Wind King? Qianli was shocked. Without waiting for the Chongling princess to speak, he hurriedly stood and shouted. The Black Wind King and Master Lu left the cave and went up the mountain. They have not returned yet. The soldier answered. Yeah. You go and stop those yaos. Kill whoever dares to come forward. Xiao Jian hurriedly stood and ordered Yuanya. Then he said to the Chongling princess and Qin Xiaoyao. This one will go find the black bear spirit. You two prepare. We will charge out of the formation together, pretend to attack, and help Elder Qin charge out in the chaos. And we understand. The Chongling princess and Qin Xiaoyao nodded. Yuanya, who had been silent, hurriedly stood, looked deeply at the Chongling princess, and then quickly followed Xiao Jian out. The Black Wind Ridge people charged to the east, the Chongling princess to the north. Xiaoyao, you take the Dao soldiers and charge to the south. Qin Qingyu saw Qin Jian leave and shouted again. This old man will go wherever I see a gap. Also, if you can charge out, then do so. Maybe this old man will attract their attention, and you can easily leave. No matter who goes out, if they can bring food and water out, it will be a great achievement. Yes, everyone was shocked. They had been surrounded by a group of yaos for 100 days. Now it was time to fight back. While they were just helping Qin Qingyu charge out, everyone was excited. After a simple assignment, Qin Qingyu rose to his feet and flew out of the cave residence. His flying out of the cave, Qin Qingyu couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Back in the cave, no matter how serious the black bear spirit was, Qin Qingyu didn't care. Seeing the situation in front of him, he finally understood. The situation inside the formation was far more dangerous than he had imagined. However, in front of the tents set up by the soldiers of the Jiang country, hundreds of Dao soldiers had already flown into the air. Each of them held a magic tool in their hands, and their faces were filled with vigilance. Below them, there were also hundreds of soldiers who were already fully equipped. They were also riding on horses, holding spears in their hands. Across from them, hundreds and thousands of fairies had begun to move in groups, advancing towards the soldiers step by step. Each of the fairies stuck out their scarlet tongues to lick their mouths. An indescribable thirst flashed in their eyes, and the primitive desire of hunger had overwhelmed all rationality. Black bear spirit, where's the black bear spirit? Qin Qingyu couldn't help but yell. He knew in his heart that in the eyes of these demons, they were all food. Only the black bear spirit was a threat. This king is here. Only then did the black bear spirit turn around from behind the cave abode. He stepped on the demon cloud and rushed into the air shouting, "Stop! Whoever dares to take half a step forward, I will kill him immediately." The black bear spirit roared angrily. Demonic chi surged from its body. Its usual cowardice was long gone. Its ferocious aura frightened the bear spirit in front of it. "Your Majesty," the bear spirit at the front gritted its teeth and said. "We know what Your Majesty means, but we haven't eaten our fill for a long time. Master once said that he did not want us to eat humans, and we all remember that in our hearts, but now that there is nothing else to eat, we do not plan to eat humans, as long as the soldiers of Jiang country give their war horses to the little ones to eat. That's it. Don't say such boring things." The black bear spirit sneered. These soldiers of the Jiang country all rely on their war horses. Without them, they would not be able to fight at all. "Your Majesty, what battle is there to talk about now? The little ones are all hungry to the point that their hearts are stuck to their backs. How can they have the strength to fight?" The bear spirit looked at the black bear spirit, but his gaze would occasionally glance at the soldiers of Jiang country, and said, "Besides, the little ones eat meat in order to live. Even if Old Master comes back, Old Master can't possibly say anything, right?" Xiao Hua had left him some food that day, but Xiao Hua had never thought that there would be such a situation. Not only did the spirit demon eat a lot of food, the Dao soldiers that Qin Qingyu had brought with him also did not have any food. These people ate a lot more than ordinary people, so the food that Xiao Hua had given them was not enough. Of course, if not for Xiao Hua's food, the Black Wind Ridge would not have been able to last for 100 days. "Children," the black bear spirit thought for a moment, then raised his voice and said, "I know you guys are hungry, but look, the soldiers in front of you are so hungry that they are all skin and bones. What can they do? Even these warhorses were left with bones. Do you want to eat meat or gnaw on bones? What's more, the soldiers of Jiang country will defend against the enemy with us. Although we are demons, demons still have to have morals. How can we attack the warriors by our side? If you want to eat, you have to eat outside the formation. Those bastards from Emoyun Ridge and Lion Rock have surrounded us. I've been suffocated for a while. Let's go. I'll bring you guys to eat meat. I'll gnaw those bastards from Emoyun Ridge and Lion Rock into bones. Let's go. Although the few old and wise bear spirits were also greedy, they understood in their hearts that when they heard the black bear spirit's words, they also raised the weapons in their hands and shouted, "We will go and eat the fat cow." It was fine if they did not mention the fat cattle, but when they heard the fat cattle, many of the bear spirits were drooling. Their gazes moved away from the Dao soldiers who were slightly emaciated, and swarmed down the mountain. The black bear spirit immediately relaxed. Qin Qingyu and the others also sighed in relief. The princess of Chongling, Qin Xiaoyao and the others all charged in front of the Dao soldiers and spoke about the matter of preparing to charge out. Everyone became alert. They were warriors, and had been suppressed in the formation for nearly 100 days. They had long been impatient. Now that they were being treated as food by the demons, they felt even more uncomfortable. Hearing that they were going to go out and fight, a wave of passion rose in their hearts. Rather than being eaten by the demons, it was better to kill the demons. If they could charge out, they would charge out. If they could not, it was better to die. Yes, many soldiers responded in unison, and left under the leadership of Qian Li and Kong Li. Those Dao soldiers also flew to the other direction in front of the formation under the leadership of Qin Xiaoyao and others, quietly waiting for Qin Qingyu's order to fight. In front of the cave, only Xiao Jian, Qin Qingyu, and Lu Yi who had just come down from the mountain were left. Qin Qingyu glanced at Xiao Jian and said with a smile, "Fellow immortal Xiao, you will be in charge of this battle. You will give the orders." "All right." Xiao Jian nodded and said, "We will rely on Elder Qin to deal with the Black Wind Ridge. We will wait here for Elder to return. I hope that Elder Qin will not fail our trust." And Qin Qingyu looked at the soldiers and horses in the three directions and answered, "Just as we discussed before, after this old man charges out, you can weaken your attacks and retreat to the formation. Wait half a day before you attack again. This old man will take advantage of the chaos to come in." After speaking, Qin Qingyu moved and flew to the left of the Chongling princess, and landed on the back of a soldier's horse. Xiao Jian knew that Qin Qingyu wanted to take advantage of the chaotic battle to escape, so he waved his hand and flew into the air. His hand formed a spell, and a beam of light came out of his hand, charging into the air in front of the mountain. It was like a stone being thrown into water. Many horizontal waves were generated in the air. After the horizontal waves, the ferocious birds and beasts surrounding the Black Wind Ridge were revealed. Xiao Jian shouted angrily, "Everyone kill! Kill!" The soldiers of Jiang country were the first to respond. They urged their war horses and charged out of the formation with spears in their hands. The hundreds of iron hooves rushed down the hillside like a torrent. Although the demons of Lion Rock were in a defensive formation, they were still caught off guard. In the instant of contact, more than 10 demons were pierced by the spears, and miserable screams could be heard. The soldiers of Jiang country rushed down the mountain ridge, and the hundreds of Dao soldiers also pounced towards the demons of Emoyun Ridge from the air. Many flashes of light could be seen, and one magical artifact after another smashed down. Similarly, many fierce birds had their wings broken, and fell from the sky. Roar, roar of the three powers, the weakest Black Wind Ridge demons were different from before. As soon as the starving demons rushed out of the magic array, their eyes lit up. It was as if the aggressive demons in front of them were fat cows. Wind immediately appeared under their feet, and they pounced on them, screaming hysterically. These spirit demons were naturally not as fast as the soldiers of Jiang country. When they came into contact with the spirit demons of Lion Mountain, the spirit demons were already prepared. Although they did not resist in a particularly orderly manner, the weapons in their hands did not hesitate to fight with the bear spirits of Black Wind Ridge. However, just as the battle began, the spirit demons of Lion Mountain were once again terrified. because the bear spirits were not fighting like before. They all looked like they were going to perish together, and there was no method at all. As long as they saw an opening, they would immediately pounce over and open their bloody mouths to bite. Many demons were caught off guard and were bitten on the arms and nape of their necks. Screams came from the mouths of these demons. The successful bear demons bit off the flesh of these demons and chewed it in their mouths. As for those spirit demons who did not succeed, when they heard the sound of chewing meat and the smell of blood, they became even more anxious and crazy. They pounced towards their opponents without any regard for their lives. Seeing this, the spirit demons of Lion Mountain were dumbfounded. Spirits did need to eat meat, but most of the meat was human and livestock meat. How could they eat spirit demon meat after becoming a spirit demon? Ever since they became spirit demons, they had long since developed a sense of self-awareness, differentiating themselves from those spirit demons that did not have intelligence. At this moment, looking at the blood in the mouth and body of the Black Wind Ridge Bear spirit, as well as the madness in its eyes, how could it still have the integrity of a spirit demon? A spirit demon without any integrity. It was truly terrifying. Fairies were actually the same as humans. When they saw that they were about to become food for others, they felt a chill in their hearts and involuntarily retreated. The fairies of Blackwind Ridge immediately gained the upper hand and slowly advanced down the mountain. Chapter 3506. In the sky, the Golden Eagle and White Lion were surprised to see the formation of the Black Wind Ridge open. However, the Golden Eagle spread its wings and shouted, "Myriad Lion King, be careful. I'm afraid this is the Black Wind Ridge's last resort. I urge all the boys to work harder and break this formation completely. Let's see how powerful that Taoist cultivator is." Haha, since it's all in one throw, why care about their formation? Once we kill all these demons and humans, what's the point of keeping their magic formation? White Lion laughed and ignored the Golden Condor. With a flap of his body, he flew down the mountain. The Golden Eagle said, "If you don't go, I'll break the formation myself." Immediately after, it spread its wings, and its body flashed with brilliance. A hurricane was born, and the huge body of the Golden Condor was like a meteor as it rushed toward Xiao Jian, who had revealed himself in midair. Its huge claws emitted a sizzling sound as they tore through the air. They were sharper than ordinary flying swords. Xiao Jian sneered and waved his hand as steadily as a mountain. There was a flash of brilliance, and the Golden Eagle only felt a flash in front of his eyes. Although the situation in front of him was still the same, and he still saw the contempt in Xiao Jian's eyes, he still had an extremely bad feeling from the bottom of his heart. Sure enough, before the Golden Eagle could do anything, its sharp claws touched an extremely tough restriction. The Golden Eagle was very familiar with this restriction. Oh no! The Golden Eagle was shocked. He knew that the formation had been sealed, and he had hit the restriction. He hurriedly flapped his wings and prepared to fly up. However, at this moment, a strong force came from the restriction. This force wrapped around the Golden Eagle and smashed it down the mountain. Boom! There was a loud sound. Just hundreds of feet below the Black Wind Ridge, the Golden Eagle's body smashed into a mountain slope that was 100 feet high. Not only did it smash a big hole in the mountain slope, but it also smashed two ferocious beasts that were guarding there into meat paste. A cloud of dust gradually settled, and the extremely sorry figure of the Golden Eagle was revealed. Its shining golden feathers were gray, and it no longer had the majesty from before. At this time, among the Jiang soldiers fighting with the beasts, a figure suddenly moved. However, this figure did not charge into the sky, but flattened out dozens of feet. Dozens of feet away, it was the Chongling princess riding a peach-red horse and swinging her weapon to kill the beasts. At this time, the Chongling princess had just killed a beast. She was about to raise her whip when she felt something was strange behind her. She unconsciously flipped her hand, and the whip was about to strike. "Princess, it's I Qin." Qingyu's voice sounded by her ear. "Martial Uncle Qin?" The Chongling princess stilled and put away the whip in her hand. She did not understand why Qinyu had suddenly appeared behind her. But before she could think, her body suddenly tensed and she flew off the peach-red horse. "Martial Uncle, what are you doing?" the Chongling princess said urgently. "Your Highness Princess, I have received the great gift of the monarch. While I cannot die for the monarch, I must protect the princess' safety. Now is the best time to charge out of the encirclement. I cannot go alone. Qin Qingyu said in a low voice. I will take the princess out even if I die to repay the monarch's favor. Seeing that she had been carried dozens of feet into the air by Qin Qingyu in a moment, what else could the Chongling princess say? While she did not want to leave, she could only sigh inside and wait until they charged out of the encirclement. Jie Qin Qingyu suddenly flew out. The golden eagle was naturally furious. It screeched and flapped its wings to charge into the air. But how could the power of the golden eagle compare to the capital star's formation? The enormous force had not completely disappeared from the golden eagle's body. It stumbled and did not fly up from the ground. Roar on the mountain ridge dozens of feet away from the golden eagle. The white lion that had just bitten a few bear spirits roared angrily. Demonic clouds formed under its feet, and it chased after Qin Qingyu. Also, from the white lion's mouth, rays of light like flying swords flew out and stabbed towards Qin Qingyu. Qin Qingyu ignored White Lion and roared. He opened his mouth and a fist-sized stone rushed out. As soon as the stone appeared, it flashed with a green light and suddenly grew bigger. It smashed towards the beasts in front of Qin Qingyu's head that were blocking in the air protect the princess. At this time, Granny Ji, Yuanya, who was on the left of the Chongling princess, and the dozen or so female generals on Pegasi moved. They each waved their weapons and urged their Pegasi to fly towards the White Lion, preparing to block the White Lion's attack for Qin Qingyu. As to Qin Xiaoyao, how could he not know Qin Qingyu's intentions? With an order, he led the Dao soldiers and several disciples to charge in Qin Qingyu's direction. Puff Yuanya's demonic staff was the first to succeed, shattering a flying sword-like light. However, his own body also lost balance and fell along with the leopard under his feet. Then, bang bang, bang, there was a series of chaotic sounds. Granny Ji and the others first knocked down the White Lion's attack, and many magic weapons also forced the White Lion. The White Lion had no choice but to temporarily abandon Qin Qingyu. Under its four hooves, the demonic clouds moved, and it dodged to the side. Immediately after, there was a series of screams. Qin Xiaoyao led the Dao soldiers to kill a few ferocious birds, and rushed behind Qin Qingyu. Boom boom, boom, there were a few muffled sounds. Qin Xiaoyao's Dharma treasure hit a few ferocious birds in front of him. Those ferocious birds were all smashed into pieces and fell from midair. At this time, under the mountain ridge, the fastest golden eagle had just flown up and was still very far from Qin Qingyu. The White Lion had dodged the desperate attacks of Granny Ji and the others, but it seemed impossible for him to catch up to Qin Qingyu. It seemed that Qin Qingyu was really going to take the Chongling princess and escape from the Black Wind Ridge. But at this time, boom boom boom, a series of roars came from the sky, and several rays of righteous chi suddenly fell, attacking Qin Qingyu and the flying stone magic weapon. Qin Qingyu's expression did not change, as though he had been prepared. His spiritual power was activated, and the flying stone vibrated. The primal energies of the universe within dozens of feet were immediately sucked into it. The flying stone immediately turned into the size of a millstone, and blocked above his head. Boom boom, boom, the righteous chi pillars fell on the flying stone, and the entire stone shook rapidly. Light flashed, and after the roars, the flying stone shrank by more than half, and Qin Qingyu's face was slightly red. Qin Qingyu, a faint voice came from the distance, and a middle-aged man dressed in scholarly robes appeared. You are not this old man's match, you should surrender. Jiang Yeming. Seeing this scholarly man, Qin Qingyu's face was ashen, and he said in surprise, why are you here? If you can come, why can't this old man come? Jiang Yeming said faintly, I might as well tell you, not only did this old man come, but other scholarly grandmasters also came. If you want to escape from this Black Wind Ridge, it is simply wishful thinking. Other grandmasters? Qin Qingyu was even more surprised. Just for that Xiaohua? Yes and no. Jiang Yeming looked at the Chongling princess in Qin Qingyu's hands and answered. Actually, Jiang Yeming, this Qin will tell you honestly, that Xiaohua is not at Black Wind Ridge. Qin Qingyu shook his head and said, this Qin has never seen him since coming to Black Wind Ridge. Haha, it is the same whether he is here or not. Jiang Yeming smiled slightly, his expression was very light. I understand. Qin Qingyu also smiled, and his smile was very beautiful. If Xiao Hua is at Black Wind Ridge, you all will work together to kill him. If he is not at Black Wind Ridge, this Chongling princess is bait. Xiao Hua will definitely fall into your trap, and you can still kill him. Yes and no. Jiang Yiming looked at Qin Qingyu from afar, and did not go forward, still answering faintly. Qin Qingyu nodded. Naturally, it is for the Chongling princess. Maybe Jiang country's treasury is not in Jiang country? Maybe Jiang country has some secrets you do not know? Jiang Yiming frowned and sneered. Qin Qingyu, your teachers have all been defeated by this old man. Now that you have no way out, why don't you quickly surrender? Ha ha ha, who says this Qin has no way out? Qin Qingyu laughed, and raised the Chongling princess in his hands. Isn't this my way out? Shirshu. Everyone was stunned. Qin Xiaoyao shouted. You. Shut up. Qin Qingyu scolded angrily. You and I are no longer Jiang country's cultivators. We do not need to respect Chongling as a princess. Qin Xiaorao gritted his teeth slightly, looked at Qin Qingyu in front of him, and then the Dao soldiers and disciples on the left. He retreated dozens of feet and said in a low voice, this disciple understands Shirshu's thoughts, but this disciple does not want to make mistakes again and again. Since there will be death, this disciple wants to die with peace of mind. Qin Qingyu, you old man. Granny Ji almost scolded behind him. Ji. The golden eagle also flew up at this time, and laughed mockingly. Is this the legendary shamelessness? Qin Qingyu, what do you mean? Jiang Yiming frowned and asked curiously. You want to use the Chongling princess to threaten this old man? Senior Jiang, this Qin does not dare to say any threats. Qin Qingyu seemed to have a card up his sleeve. The Chongling princess is the bait to kill Xiao Hua, and also the last royal family of Jiang country. Her importance must be self-evident. If this Qin tightens his grip, and the Chongling princess loses her life, won't your calculations all be in vain? Senior Jiang, this Qin is just an itinerant cultivator of the Dao sect. As long as this Qin goes out, I will immediately give the Chongling princess to Senior. You can do whatever you want with her. Haha. Jiang Yiming laughed and waved his hand. Qin Qingyu, the one who is in vain is you. This Chongling princess is someone the monarch wants to kill. If you kill her, this old man and the others don't have to dirty our hands. Also, you killed the Chongling princess. Since Xiao Hua is not at Black Wind Ridge, he naturally does not know. He still has to return to Black Wind Ridge. The Chongling princess is bait. It has nothing to do with the Chongling princess life or death. Chapter 3507. Good. Qin Qingyu sneered. He reached out and grabbed the Chongling princess' neck. He shouted. Since you say so, this Qin will crush Chongling to death. Whatever. Jiang Yiming was a man of few words. He waved his hand and retreated dozens of feet, as though he was afraid the Chongling princess' blood would splash on him. A vicious light flashed through Qin Qingyu's eyes. He said with a smile. Who are you bluffing? You think this Qin does not dare? As he spoke, his hand tightened. The Chongling princess, who had been silent all this time, and seemed to have lost her heart, suddenly turned green. Thief, you dare. With an angry roar, Yuanya, who had been accumulating his power for a long time, hurriedly urged the leopard to rush up from below without any concern for his own safety. Roar, the white lion roared, causing the space around Yuanya and the leopard to rapidly tremble. The leopard was so scared that it pissed its pants and hurriedly flew down. Yuanya anxiously cried out on the leopard, but even if he was angry, what could he do? His cultivation was simply too far away from that of these monsters. Granny Ji and the others were also ashen-faced. They had pinned all their hopes on Qin Qingyu and helped him to defend against the enemy. They had never expected that in the end, Qin Qingyu would betray them and turn his back on them. Looking around Qin Qingyu, no, in the entire Black Wind Ridge, other than the enemy, there was no one else who could subdue Qin Qingyu. Was the Chongling princess going to be crushed to death by Qin Qingyu? Old Master Xiao. The people of Jiang country had never yearned for Xiao Hua's appearance more than now. Maybe only Xiao Hua could resolve the present deadlock. Whoosh! Just as everyone's hearts turned to ash, an inexplicable ripple came from Qin Qingyu's arm. A flame appeared strangely. Ooh! Qin Qingyu was shocked, his heart contracting. He immediately thought of a possibility. Other than Xiao Hua, whom he had never met, who could appear strangely at such a dangerous time. Understanding, Qin Qingyu's hand loosened. No matter how bold he was, he did not dare to crush the Chongling princess to death in front of Xiao Hua, who had not appeared. Rumble just as Qin Qingyu loosened his grip, a fireball appeared. Then, the surrounding heaven-earth essence qi suddenly gathered. Moreover, as the heaven-earth essence qi swarmed, several flames appeared not far in front of Jiang Yuming, White Lion, Golden Condor, and the other demons of Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Mountain. Qin Qingyu was very close to the fireball. The fireball violently exploded. In the light, Qin Qingyu screamed. Golden light flashed around him. His right arm holding the Chongling princess dimmed and blood flew. Qin Qingyu's right arm was blown off by the fireball. As Qin Qingyu's arm was blown off, ripples of water blue light appeared in the light of the fireball. A thin old man in Taoist robes and a circular talisman appeared. The water blue light came from the talisman. However, this light was quickly extinguished in the light of the fireball. The explosion of the fireball charged past the talisman and blasted the old man's back into a bloody mess. The old man's body was pushed by the force of the fireball towards the Chongling princess like a falling leaf. The Chongling princess had lost her will to live under this unpredictable person's heart. But the next change happened in a flash. Before she could think, the old man spread his arms and used his body to protect her. Looking at the face that was coming closer, the familiar wrinkles, the dry lips, and the two white mustaches. Wasn't this Xiao Jian? However, at this moment, Xiao Jian's originally turbid eyes were filled with concern and determination. Xiao Jian's decisiveness turned into gratification, but this gratification disappeared as he closed his eyes. Xiao Jian, fellow immortal Xiao, the Chongling princess, was puzzled but did not dare to be negligent. She hurriedly reached out and pulled the unconscious Xiao Jian into her arms. But the fireball was really powerful. Xiao Jian blocked the heat wave that was charging at the Chongling princess, but the power was still there. The Chongling princess could not resist at all. Under the enormous force, she floated down. Looking around, countless scorching waves of fire were rolling. Not only did the demons of Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Rock retreat in fear, even someone as strong as Jiang Yuming did not dare to be negligent. He leaped high into the air. The moment the fireball appeared, Jiang Yuming was shocked. He thought that Xiao Hua had appeared. But when he saw Xiao Jian's figure in the fire, he was reassured. Xiao Jian must have used an invisibility seal to prepare to escape. But he had not expected Qin Qingyu to hold the Chongling princess hostage. So Xiao Jian had to give up on escaping and use the fireball seal to save the Chongling princess. However, Jiang Yuming did not understand. Since Xiao Jian had an invisibility seal, why did Qin Qingyu not? Since Qin Qingyu knew Xiao Jian had an invisibility seal, why did he not guard against Xiao Jian? Especially, why was this fireball seal so powerful? Of course, these questions were nothing in Jiang Yuming's mind. Both Xiao Jian and Qin Qingyu were not worth mentioning in Jiang Yuming's eyes. No matter what they did, as long as they did not escape Black Wind Ridge, they could do whatever they wanted. Therefore, when he saw the Chongling princess land with Xiao Jian and meet up with Granny Ji and the others, Yuanya punched the leopard and did his best to get close to the Chongling princess. The Golden Condor and White Lion were forced into a sorry state by the fireballs. He smiled faintly. Then the physical energy in his body moved. He opened his mouth and recited the 100 classics. Waves of vast energy roared and fell from the sky. In a moment, it extinguished all the flames within 100 zhang of him. After the flames disappeared, Qin Qingyu's slightly stooped figure appeared. At this time, Qin Qingyu had used the previous chaos to fly dozens of feet, wanting to escape Jiang Yuming's encirclement. Seeing his tracks exposed, Qin Qingyu's unusually pale face showed a hint of embarrassment. Elder Jiang Qin Qingyu thought for a moment and said, "You also saw that this Qin was forced to do something beyond my ability. They do not trust me at all. The matter of Black Wind Ridge has nothing to do with this Qin." A hint of mockery flashed through Jiang Yuming's eyes. He looked up and down at Qin Qingyu's disheveled appearance. In order to escape, he did not even have time to clean up the blood on his body. Then he said coolly, "Qin Qingyu, this path is blocked. You should turn back. Elder, Qin Qingyu pleaded. This Qin swears that from now on, I will not ask about the matters of the Dao sect. I will only focus on cultivation. Jiang country. No, the Dao sect of the hidden immortal continent has nothing to do with this Qin. Go back. Jiang Yiming waved his hand. A wave of vast energy passed. Qin Qingyu saw that he could not block it, and could only fly back. Fortunately, Jiang Yiming did not mean to make things difficult for Qin Qingyu. This wave of vast energy only brushed past Qin Qingyu's head. The golden eagle was obviously very angry that Qin Qingyu could escape from its encirclement. When it saw Qin Qingyu flying down, it spread its wings. The golden feathers that were messed up by the fireball talisman flashed, and rushed towards Qin Qingyu. Let him go back. Jiang Yiming waved his hand. A wave of vast energy condensed into an invisible wall of qi in front of the golden eagle. The golden eagle was caught off guard, and was actually knocked down in mid-air. The golden eagle made a clear jie sound. It seemed very angry and said angrily, Jiang Yiming, what right do you boom? A wave of vast energy came. The golden eagle was hit, and kept rolling in the air. Only a few feathers were still floating in the air. Jiang Yiming's figure slowly disappeared. His cold voice stayed in the same place. You are just a flat bird. Don't forget your identity. If you were not still useful, this old man would kill you on the spot. The golden eagle was knocked down and blood flowed out of its beak. White Lion and the others did not dare to be negligent. Although they did not dare to retreat from here, they were already far away and surrounded the people of Black Wind Ridge. Standing in midair, Qin Qingyu was in an awkward situation. Earlier, his order to Qin Xiaoyao was rejected, and Qin Xiaoyao stepped back for tens of feet. There were nearly 100 people who moved with Qin Xiaoyao. These disciples and Dao soldiers were far away from Qin Jian's fire talisman, so they weren't affected too much. But the disciples who stayed behind to listen to Qin Qingyu were slightly troublesome. In the explosion of the fire talisman, a dozen of them were injured. Right now they were as bad as Qin Qingyu. Although they had rested for a while and were standing in the air, they probably couldn't stay together with the people of Black Wind Ridge. Qin Qingyu's gaze swept across the formation of the Golden Eagle, White Lion and the others. Then he looked at Granny Ji and the others who were protecting the Chongling princess and retreating. His face was ferocious. But he clapped his hand and put several pills into his mouth. His face immediately flushed red. He sneered and said, You Confucian cultivators have a good plan. You want to watch the show from the side? Good. This old man will let you watch. This old man will turn Black Wind Ridge into a sea of blood. Let's see what good show you can watch. As he spoke, he raised his hand and shouted, Disciples, Dao soldiers, follow this old man, kill. Sect uncle. Seeing Qin Qingyu go crazy, Qin Xiaoyao was shocked. At this time in Black Wind Ridge, Qin Qingyu was the strongest. Who could be his match? Even if there were hundreds and thousands of demons, in the eyes of an early Jindan cultivator, they were not even a dish. Qin Xiaoyao shouted, and wanted to persuade Qin Qingyu. Unfortunately, Qin Qingyu didn't give Qin Xiaoyao a chance to speak at all. He made a spell with both hands, and within a few feet of Qin Xiaoyao, a silvery white brilliance shone brightly. Streaks of light like spears appeared, and pierced towards Qin Xiaoyao. It was Qin Qingyu's best technique, the golden spear technique. Qin Xiaoyao's expression changed greatly. He did not expect Qin Qingyu to change his face faster than flipping a book. He was the first to attack a junior disciple. He quickly rubbed his hands and opened his mouth. A fire bead the size of a thumb shot out. Chapter 3508. The fire bead immediately turned into a crimson wall of fire to protect Qin Xiaoyao. But before the wall of fire formed, hundreds of silver-white spears were thrown over like hundreds of giants. The sound of them breaking through the air was ear-piercing. Qin Xiaoyao was not strong to begin with. He could not even block Tong Zhuoguo's killing immortal crossbow, much less the spears of these Jindan cultivators. Pew pew. Dozens of spears easily passed through the wall of fire, and came close to Qin Xiaoyao. Qin Xiaoyao's face was ashen, but there was no regret in his eyes. Instead, there was a kind of relief. This relief was the relief of being forgiven. While Qin Xiaoyao's gaze was not on the Chongling princess fleeing towards Black Wind Ridge, The princess and even Granny Ji looked at Qin Xiaoyao without the disdain and rejection from before. Oh! At this moment, a very surprised voice suddenly sounded. What's going on? This voice sounded a little ethereal, but it was also loud and clear. The entire Black Wind Ridge could hear it clearly. Following this voice, thousands of tiny threads of lightning suddenly appeared in the air around Qin Xiaoyao. There were not many threads of lightning, and they did not look strong. But where the threads of lightning passed, the thousands of golden spears were immediately shattered. The threads of lightning wrapped around the silver-white fragments. In a blink, the fragments turned back into pure primal energies of the universe. Xiao. Elder Xiao. Qin Xiaoyao was naturally overjoyed at being reborn. He looked around in disbelief, his voice filled with an indescribable hope. Xiaohua. Qin Qingyu saw his spell easily defeated by the lightning. His expression changed. He was filled with regret and bitterness in his mouth. He really did not understand why his luck was so tragic. What to do? Qin Qingyu's mind spun rapidly. He hurriedly sent out his consciousness towards the source of the voice. But his consciousness was immediately cut off after scanning 100 feet. He could not go very far. Old Master. This is Old Master. Old Master is back. Boy kill. The black bear spirit was the happiest. When he heard Xiaohua's voice, he immediately shouted. The demons of the Black Wind Ridge had no time to watch Qin Qingyu's despicable performance. They were originally in a state of exhaustion, and had gradually slipped into a disadvantageous position. However, when they heard the black bear spirits roar, it was more effective than any elixir. The weapons in their hands danced in the air, and their momentum was like a rainbow. Kill. The demons of Black Wind Ridge were like this, and the soldiers of Jiang Country were even more excited. In this period of fighting, they had suffered many losses, and were almost unable to resist the birds flying in the sky. Hearing Xiaohua's voice, they all fought with their lives. Granny Ji and the others were overjoyed. As they protected the Chongling princess, they urged their horses to charge at the demons of Moyun Ridge. The most ridiculous thing was still the leopard. Previously, no matter how Yuanya punched and kicked it, it did not dare to fly into the air. At this time, it also let out a long roar and turned into a flying shadow, carrying Yuanya to the beast at the foot of the mountain. However, just as it started to fly, it was punched by Yuanya again. Only then did it turn around and charge at the Chongling princess. At this time, Qin Xiaoyao seemed to think of something and hurriedly shouted, Elder Xiao! The Black Wind Ridge has an ambush from the Copper Pillar State. But his words did not travel far. Boom boom boom. Dark clouds covered the Black Wind Ridge, and wild winds blew. Countless bolts of lightning crashed down like a heavenly river. Oh! Between the flashes of lightning, the thousands of birds of Moyun Ridge that had been arrogant before were struck down by the heavenly lightning. Other than the scattered feathers in the air, there was only the fragrance of roasted birds. Gee! The golden eagle was shocked. It had seen powerful cultivators, and righteous Confucian cultivators, but it had never seen such a powerful move. There were over 1,000 of them. They were killed by this cultivator called Xiaohua without even showing his face. What cultivation did this Xiaohua have? Before the golden condor could escape, another wave of the Taoist spell that it had seen before flashed in midair. Then it saw layers of flames appearing above the heads of the ferocious beasts on Lion Rock. Then it swooped down. Roar! Roar! The ferocious beasts screamed in agony. No one cared about fighting with the Black Wind Ridge demons anymore. They either rolled on the ground to extinguish the flames, or formed demonic clouds under their feet, and rushed into the air to escape. Go! Bai Shi had been moved. With a soft roar, the Yao clouds under his feet moved, and he had already charged dozens of feet. Damn it! The golden eagle cursed in its heart. It seemed to be half a beat slower than Bai Shi every time. But fortunately, its flying speed was fast enough. With a flap of its wings, it immediately caught up with Bai Shi. Just as they had fled a few hundred meters away, a thunderous rumble resounded through the sky. A tall and skinny human figure stepped on heavenly lightning, and flew over at a speed faster than lightning. His voice that was even louder than thunder rumbled through the Black Wind Ridge. After causing so much trouble to my Black Wind Ridge, you still want to leave? Before the voice died away, the golden eagle and Baishir's eyes blurred. They did not notice anything at all. The two figures had already landed in the sky above Black Wind Ridge. The golden eagle and Baishir looked at each other. Their eyes were filled with shock. This kind of magical power that could teleport them dozens of feet without them noticing had long exceeded their understanding. Almost at the same time, the two of them knelt in the air and shouted, "Master, please spare us." The two so-called Golden Eagle King and Myriad Lion King did not resist at all, and just knelt down. The demons of Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Rock were even worse. They had long been scared witless by the heavenly lightning and the burning of their bodies. Now they no longer dared to care about their injuries. They all knelt on the ground and shouted, "Master, please spare us." "Umph." The black bear spirit snorted and said angrily, "Is Master's name something you can easily call out?" His words were filled with pride and arrogance. In a moment, the thin figure in the sky had already flown to the sky above the Black Wind Mountain range. After the lightning dissipated, his true appearance was revealed. Xiao Hua's appearance was a few years older, but he looked more mature, and the majesty between his brows was even more prominent. Anyone who looked at him would feel a sense of fear, and a kind of reverence would spontaneously arise. "Master, you have returned." The black bear spirit was carefree and showed off in front of people. He flew to Xiao Hua's right hand and bowed proudly. Xiao Hua nodded slightly and said, "And this old man has returned. Black Bear, you have worked hard." Seeing Xiao Hua give him face, the black bear spirit was even happier. He did not dare to rise and said, "This one is unworthy and did not gain face for Master. In the end, I still have to rely on Master's methods." And Xiao Hua responded and looked away. The people of Jiang country escorted the Chongling princess and flew to Xiao Hua's hand. They all bowed respectfully and said, "Welcome Master back to the mountain. You have worked hard. What is going on with Xiao Jian?" Xiao Hua frowned slightly. His Buddhist consciousness had come too late and did not see the situation. The Chongling princess looked worriedly at Xiao Jian, who was still unconscious and covered in blood. She recounted what had happened previously. When Xiao Hua heard this, he sucked in a breath of cold air. His heart was also filled with lingering fear. If Qin Qingyu really succeeded, not to mention that Jiangguo would no longer exist, even his own face would be lost. Wouldn't everything he said earlier be for naught? Xiao Hua's eyes narrowed slightly. He swept a glance at Qin Qingyu and the hundreds of Dao soldiers and disciples around him, and then looked at Qin Xiaoyao. At this time, Qin Xiaoyao flew over with hundreds of disciples and Dao soldiers. Seeing Xiao Hua look at him, he hurriedly bowed and said, "Disciple Qin Xiaoyao greets. Master." "Disciple thanks Master for saving my life." Was what Chongling said true? Xiao Hua's expression did not change as he asked coolly. Qin Xiaoyao did not dare to speak and hurriedly answered, "What Her Highness the Princess said is true." "Then, how do you think Qin Qingyu should be dealt with?" Xiao Hua asked directly. Qin Xiaoyao stilled. He was tongue-tied and did not dare to speak. Xiao Hua saw Qin Xiaoyao hesitate and immediately moved him to the side. He raised his hand and took out a jade bottle. He gave it to Yuanya and said, "Yuanya, feed this pill medicine to your master." "Yes, master." Yuanya saw Xiao Hua was awe-inspiring and was no longer the Xiao Hua who could stand shoulder to shoulder with him on the streets of Longevity Town. He took the jade bottle and hurriedly answered. After Xiao Jian had fainted, he had been watched over by the female generals of Jiang country. Only now did he dare to give it to Yuanya. Seeing Xiao Jian take the pill medicine, Xiao Hua smiled and pointed. When did Xiao Jian's abilities improve greatly? He can predict the future? First, he stole the seat's invisibility talisman and fire talisman from Lu Yi. He master, this little one knows. The black bear spirit at the side hurriedly said with a smile. This is not Xiao Jian's ability, but Lu Guo's arrangement? Louis? Xiao Hua was startled. He raised his head to look at the mountain ridge, where Louis was already kneeling on the ground, as if he was welcoming him. Master. At this time Qin Xiaoyao spoke up. You old man. Didn't you hear your disciple's voice? Outside the Black Wind Ridge, there is a great formation set up by Confucian cultivators. We are bait, and our lives are as light as grass. How can you take the risk? Xiao Hua sneered, disdain appearing on the corner of his mouth. He raised his head to look at the sky, where a faint five-colored brilliance was flowing, and said, "Let me tell you, on this black wind ridge, every person, every demon's life is not light. Even if I know that this is bait, that there is a trap here, I will still come." "Thank you, Master." Everyone knelt down, their hearts filled with an indescribable warmth. "Besides, it's just a child's play. How can it do anything to me?" Xiao Hua laughed again. He raised his hand and everyone stood up. "We will only chat here. We will talk after they set up the formation." Chapter 3509. Yes, we will rely on Old Master for everything. Everyone saw Xiao Hua so calm, and felt even more confident. Xiao Hua beckoned with his hand. Lu Yi, kneeling on the ground, flew in front of Xiao Hua. Lu Yi did not dare to get up and kowtowed. Disciple Lu Yi greets Old Master. Disciple did not manage the residence well and caused such trouble. Old Master will punish me. Haha, no need to be so careful, Xiao Hua said with a smile. You did well. This seat will give you a surprise later. However, tell this old man, how did you know Qin Qingyu would kidnap the Chongling princess? Lu Yi's face was bashful as he said in a low voice, allow this little one to report this matter to Old Master alone in the future. Oh, good. Xiao Hua smiled and then looked up. He took out a bottle of pills and flew it in front of Lu Yi. Get up. You did well. Today you did the best. This pill is for you. When you learn the method in the future, you can take it. Lu Yi was so clever. Hearing Xiao Hua say, when you learn the method in the future, how could he not know that Xiao Hua had found a method for him to cultivate? Excitement appeared on his face. He carefully took the jade bottle and hid it on his body before bowing again. Qin Xiaoyao, Xiao Hua suddenly asked. Do you mind the question this seat asked you just now? Seeing Xiao Hua act so swiftly and decisively, his train of thought also jumping around, Qin Xiaoyao clenched his teeth and knelt down in midair, saying, Master, disciple knows that martial uncle Qin committed an unpardonable crime. But disciple also committed a serious crime that day. Since Old Master can pardon this disciple, why can't you forgive Qin Shishu? He was just muddle-headed under the attack of the enemy and made the wrong choice. Now that our Dao sect is in decline, one person killed is one less. This disciple asks Old Master to be magnanimous and allow Qin Shishu to redeem himself. Old Master, you cannot. Granny Ji had not known Xiao Hua for long, but she was familiar with Xiao Hua's soft-hearted nature. She hurriedly shouted that Qin Qingyu was the strongest cultivator of Black Wind Ridge at the time. He wanted to kidnap Her Highness the Princess and use her safety to exchange for his life. He even wanted to kill Her Highness the Princess when the enemy could not tolerate it. In addition, he didn't care about fellow disciples at all. As soon as he had time, he immediately attacked his own martial nephew. If it weren't for the return of the master, fellow Taoist Qin would have already died. How could someone who was worse than a beast be a disciple of the Dao sect? Leaving him alive is a disgrace to the Dao sect, and a thorn in the flesh of my Black Wind Ridge. If Master is unable to distinguish between rewards and punishments, I'm afraid it won't be fair in the future. Master, please make a decision. Master. When Qin Qingyu heard this from afar, he hurriedly knelt down in the air and cried out, Please spare my life, Master. I will follow your orders for the rest of my life, and will never have any other thoughts. Old Master Granny Ji wanted to say something, but when she saw Xiao Hua frown slightly, the Chongling princess hurriedly scolded. Granny, just say this. Everything will be decided by Master. But Granny Ji wanted to say something but stopped. She bit her lip and lowered her head. The black bear spirit was next to Lu Yi at this time. He raised his foot and kicked Lu Yi, indicating for Lu Yi to speak. But Lu Yi didn't seem to notice and stood there silently. The other people of Black Wind Ridge knew their status was low and didn't dare to speak. On the mountain ridge, the bear spirits of Black Wind Ridge looked at the spirits on the ground that had been killed by the heavenly lightning and fire. They swallowed and didn't dare to move, waiting for Xiao Hua's decision. Qin Qingyu, don't think about getting lucky, Xiao Hua said coolly. You are a disciple of the Dao sect, but you don't deserve to be a human. Since you don't deserve to be a human, what are you living for? Since you are a disciple of the Dao sect, You can kill yourself. Xiao Hua had just finished speaking when he saw Qin Qingyu's body flashing with an intense golden light. Streams of zhenqi were like small snakes coming out from his mouth and nose. Qin Qingyu's body flashed and flew towards the distance. As Qin Qingyu flew, the brilliance around his body became even brighter, just like an extremely sharp flying sword. Do you want to escape? Xiao Hua smiled faintly. Even if you have 10 more gold cores, you can burn them all and turn them into swords. How can you escape from my hands? While speaking, Xiao Hua waved his right hand, and a huge palm appeared in midair. It was several times faster than Qin Qingyu's, and in a moment, it grabbed Qin Qingyu. No matter how Qin Qingyu struggled, he couldn't break free. Even if I don't do it, do you think you can escape from the formation of the Confucian cultivators? Xiao Hua looked at Qin Qingyu and said word by word. In front of you, there is only a dead end. However, instead of letting the Confucian cultivators kill you, let me send you on your way. I have a merciful heart, but that doesn't mean I won't kill. Because you deserve to die, I don't mind staining my hands with blood. After he finished speaking, the big hand moved slightly. Qin Qingyu struggled with all his strength, as if he was going to explode his gold core. However, under the power of the big hand, his true qi could not flow at all. Under the huge force, blood splattered and Qin Qingyu was crushed to death. Immediately after, Xiao Hua retracted his technique, and Qin Qingyu's corpse fell from the sky. Everyone was shocked. Xiao Hua said indifferently, "You reap what you sow, you reap what you sow. Everyone has their own karma. Don't think too much about others." Yes, disciple understands. Qin Xiaoyao knew that this was for him and hurriedly bowed. The other Taoist disciples didn't do evil. Please spare my life, master. Well, they are all your disciples. You can decide for yourself. Xiao Hua waved his hand. The hundreds of frightened disciples and Taoist soldiers were overjoyed and hurriedly bowed down to thank him. The internal affairs of the Black Wind Ridge have been dealt with. Xiao Hua raised his head and looked at the sky. The 5-colored brilliance had turned into 5-colored auspicious clouds, and was still dancing in the air. There were no signs of it descending. He said, since the formation masters haven't finished their work, let's look at other things. Master, spare my life, spare my life. The golden eagle and white lion had been waiting by the side. Hearing Xiao Hua's words, they hurriedly begged for mercy. Xiao Hua smiled and asked, strange. You led a group of subordinates to invade my Black Wind Ridge and kill my disciples. Why should I spare you? Master, the golden eagle said pitifully, although we are called Golden Eagle King and Thousand Lion King, we are actually the same as the Black Wind King. We are all pitiful characters. Others don't know how hard we worked, but how can the Black Bear spirit not know? At first, we thought that we were the kings of the Black Cloud Ridge, and were very proud of ourselves. But when Master came, so many things happened. Only then did we realize that we were just the pretense of others and were used by others. You can ask the Black Bear spirit. We have coexisted peacefully for so many years. Who bullied him? If we weren't forced by others this time, why would we invade the Black Wind Ridge? Also the White Lion hurriedly shouted from the side. We surrounded the Black Wind Ridge for so long and didn't attack heavily. In fact, we didn't injure many of the Black Wind Ridge's subordinates. We don't deserve to die. Hearing the words don't deserve to die, coming from the mouth of the Thousand Lion King, everyone couldn't help but laugh. This really sounded ridiculous. However, the Black Bear spirit's eyes darted around. His gaze swept across the Black Wind Ridge. When he saw that most of the beasts of Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Rock were injured and not many were killed, he immediately understood that Xiao Hua didn't have the intention to eliminate them. Then he thought about what Xiao Hua said and came up with a plan. He casually took half a step forward and bowed. Master, this little one has a few words, but I don't know if I should say them. Feel free to speak. Xiao Hua said with a smile. Master, the Black Bear spirit pointed at the 2 demons and said, this little one is the same as the 2 demon kings. We both occupy mountains and call ourselves kings. No one understands their hardships better than this little one. We don't have a choice. Actually, I won't hide it from Master. If Master forced this little one to attack Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Rock, even if this little one didn't want to go, Under Master's strict orders, this little one wouldn't dare to disobey. When did this lord do such a thing? Xiaohua laughed and scolded. Seeing Xiaohua laugh, the black bear spirit understood even more. He said, "There's no need to say that the two demon kings don't deserve to die. After all, we are all demons and have killed countless people. However, Master, now is the time to use people. The two demon kings are useless, but they have thousands of subordinates. This little one is afraid that I can't take care of all of them. Why don't you spare their lives and help me restrain my subordinates? This way, won't the entire Black Cloud Ridge belong to Master?" Yes, this little one will definitely listen to the Black Wind King's orders and guard the Black Cloud Ridge for Master. Hearing the Black Bear Spirit's words, the Golden Eagle and White Lion understood that he was taking advantage of the situation. However, they didn't dare to disobey. They hurriedly kowtowed and said, "But Master, please spare our lives." Yes, the Black Bear Spirit's words make sense. Xiaohua nodded to himself. Then he stretched out his hand and a dark green light flashed between his eyebrows. The Golden Eagle and White Lion felt an indescribable pain in their heads. The two demons couldn't help but roll in the air in pain. Rise! As Xiaohua raised his hand, two faint shadows appeared between the eyebrows of the two demons. Xiaohua then grabbed with his hand, and the two shadows instantly shrunk to the size of a mung bean. Immediately after, two pieces of jade floated in the air. Xiaohua flicked his two hands and rays of light appeared from the jade pieces. They were so bright that it caused everyone to squint their eyes. Puff, puff! Suddenly, the two pieces of jade shined brightly and lit up at the same time. A moment later, the two pieces of jade melted into two balls of liquid. This liquid was no longer just jade, it was mixed with a trace of scarlet. Xiaohua suddenly raised his head and pointed his finger. The Black Bear Spirit, who was watching the show with narrowed eyes, felt pain between his eyebrows. Before he could cry out in pain, 2 drops of blood had been flicked by Xiaohua and landed in the jade liquid. Sizzle! With a series of sounds, the jade liquid glowed with a green light. Chapter 35:10. Go! Xiaohua lightly reprimanded and raised his hand. 2 green bean-sized shadows were thrown into the jade liquid. Then Xiaohua sent in a few more spells. Kacha kacha! 2 crisp sounds were heard. The jade liquid condensed into 2 jade tablets. Master, the Black Bear Spirit cried bitterly. "It's fine if you think these 2 deserve to die, but why are you so happy with my blood? What do you know?" Xiaohua snorted and waved his hand. "Take this jade tablet." Seeing the 2 jade pendants in his hands, the Black Bear Spirit raised the jade pendants and looked at the vague shadows of the Golden Eagle and White Lion. He was puzzled and asked curiously, "Master, what am I doing with this? These 2 demons were spared because you begged for mercy. I'll leave their lives to you. If they don't listen, you can crush the jade tablet at any time," Xiaohua said coldly. "Of course, if anything happens to them, I'll hold you responsible." "There's no need, Master." The Black Bear Spirit's expression became even more bitter. He said pitifully, "This thing is so precious. If I accidentally break it, won't I take their lives? You should keep it." Black Bear Xiaojian, who had already woken up, reminded him, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. "Old Master thinks highly of you. You hold the jade pendant and deliberately think that the 2 demons will have to do whatever you want them to do." "Ah, is that so?" The Black Bear Spirit was overjoyed and hurriedly shouted, "Golden Eagle, roll for me." The Golden Eagle was no longer in pain. Just now, it was standing in midair. When it heard the Black Bear Spirit's words, it hesitated. But then the pain came again. The Golden Eagle's face turned pale. It moved and its body trembled. It gritted its teeth and said, "Black Wind King, you and I are both demon kings. In the future, White Lion and I will help you. If you treat us like this, we'd rather die." "Oh." The Black Bear Spirit's small eyes turned. Seeing the Golden Eagle's painful expression, he knew that Xiaojian was right. He immediately put away the jade tablet and smiled. "Brothers, it's all my fault. I just wanted to see the effects of this jade tablet. I won't try it again in the future. Brothers, as long as you treat Master like I do, this jade tablet will be as good as nothing. Big brother is wrong." Golden Condor looked at White Lion and hurriedly cupped his hands. Among the 3 heads of Black Cloud Ridge, the Black Wind King is the leader, I'm third, and White Lion is second. If the 3 of us work together, we will definitely be able to protect the Black Cloud Ridge. White Lion smiled and also bowed, saying, Third brother is right. Although Big Brother's cultivation is low now, with Master's help, it won't be long before he becomes our leader. I'm sorry. The Black Bear Spirit's mouth was wide open. The corners of his mouth were all the way to the back of his head. He cupped his fists in return. Go and pack up. From today onwards, Black Cloud Ridge will belong to you 3 brothers. Xiaohua waved his hand. I can guarantee that as long as all of you are obedient, not to mention Black Cloud Ridge, even the entire hidden immortal continent will become famous. Yes, we understand. The 3 demon kings were overjoyed. After hastily bowing, they descended from the clouds and reorganized their subordinates. Xiao Jian had already recovered from his injuries after receiving Xiaohua's elixir. He walked forward and bowed. Disciple thanks Master for saving my life. Xiaohua sized up Xiao Jian. He was actually rather puzzled. Xiao Jian had always been very selfish. Why would he take the risk because of Lu Yi's words? However, after thinking about it, in the entire Black Wind Ridge, other than Xiao Jian, Lu Yi couldn't find a reliable Taoist cultivator who could use invisibility talismans and fire talismans. Fortunately, Xiao Jian didn't let Lu Yi down. Xiao Jian could be considered to have made a great contribution. You did well. Xiao Jian, I have a whole new level of respect for you. Xiaohua nodded. In the future, if you encounter any difficulties in your cultivation, you can come find me. If there are no accidents, getting a golden core or nascent soul cultivator isn't a big deal. Xiao Jian didn't have any excitement on his face. He seemed to believe Xiaohua's words without any doubt. He bowed and said, Disciple thanks Master for taking care of me. What's the progress of your plan to restore the Black Cloud Ridge? Xiaohua stood in the air and didn't return to his residence. He actually treated the swaying clouds in the air like they were nothing and asked. Xiao Jian looked at the Chongling princess. The 2 nodded slightly. Xiao Jian spoke again. Disciple and the others are almost done with their plans. Only Master is left to come back and take charge. Someone like Qin Qingyu. Xiaohua asked with interest. This is all Disciple's fault. Qin Xiaoyao hurriedly said from the side. In order to increase the power of Black Wind Ridge, Disciple could only invite Disciple's sect uncle to come and hold the fort. But I didn't expect. And none of you are wrong, it's this seat's fault. Xiaohua nodded. He liked Qin Xiaoyao's responsibility even more. This seat had some important matters and couldn't come back in time. That's right, go and look for that second imperial tutor. What's his name again? If you find out whether he's dead or alive, I'll go and look for him. If I'm not around in the future, at least there'll be someone to support you. The second imperial preceptor of Jiang country is Li Xiang, Li Zhenren. Qin Xiaoyao hurriedly answered. This disciple heard that he was captured by the Copper Pillar country. The Chongling princess explained from the side. To let Master know, Li Zhenren listens to the imperial preceptor, but is unfamiliar with the imperial family of Jiang country. This junior doesn't know much about this elder. All right, return to the residence. If you need to discuss, discuss. If you need to act, act. Xiaohua waved his hand. Everyone bowed and saluted. Only Lu Yi was left in the air. He could not fly and waited by Xiaohua's side. Lu. Xiaohua waved his hand and used a silent spell. He said, Now you can speak. How did you know that Qin Qingyu was going to act against the Chongling princess? Did you personally give Xiao Jian's invisibility seal and fire seal to him? Facing Xiaohua, Lu Yi naturally didn't dare to conceal anything. He explained the cause of the matter in detail, causing Xiaohua to be somewhat dumbstruck. It was very simple because Lu Yi could feel what others were thinking. When Qin Qingyu was discussing with everyone in the residence, Lu Yi had sensed his desire for the Chongling princess from Qin Qingyu's heart. But he was not sure and did not dare to expose it. He could only take the chance to leave the residence and call out the Black Bear Spirit. Lu Yi naturally would not tell the Black Bear Spirit the truth. He only said what would happen if Qin Qingyu, the cultivator with the highest cultivation, had no one to restrict him. Of course, The black bear spirit had no other choice. He could only blink his eyes helplessly. However, when Louis took out the invisibility talisman and fire talisman left behind by Xiaohua, the black bear spirit came up with an idea. He was a demon and did not cultivate any Dao techniques. Of course he could not use them. Louis was not at ease with Xiao Jian. He feared Xiao Jian would take the chance to run. Otherwise he would have taken out these things long ago. But here, for the safety of the Chongling princess, Louis could only gamble. Coincidentally, Xiao Jian came to find Louis. Louis took the chance to speak of his worries. Xiao Jian did not take it seriously and agreed. After Qin Qingyu landed on the horse of the Jiang soldiers, he activated the invisibility seal under Lu Yi's urging, and hid near the Chongling princess. The development of the matter was as Lu Yi had expected. If Xiao Jian had not stopped her, the Chongling princess would have died. Xiaohua listened to Lu Yi and nodded slightly. Yes, this is your talent. You do not need to tell others. This old man will keep the secret for you. Cultivate the Dao art first, and when the time is ripe, I'll pass down another Buddhist sect divine ability to you. It's called the heart connection, and I presume it'll bring back your extraordinary talent to the extreme. Many thanks, old master. Lu Yi was overjoyed. And can you sense what this old man is thinking? Xiaohua suddenly asked. He, old master is thinking too much. Lu Yi said with a smile. When this little one saw old master that day, I was seriously injured and could not sense what old master was thinking. When this little one got the river tide temple, this little one tried, and could only sense that old master was a good person, and would not harm this little one and little yin. But this little one does not know what old master is thinking. Also, to tell old master the truth, this perception is not accurate. Also, sensing danger is more useful than other senses. When this little one was young, this little one relied on this to avoid many dangers. And this old man knows. Xiaohua nodded. He looked at the dark clouds in the sky and sneered. Damn it, this old man has waited for so long. Why is it not set up yet? Relying on this, you dare to fight this old man? If this old man did not want to use you to establish power, you would not have the time to set up the formation. Old master, do not be careless. Lu Yi reminded. The Confucian cultivators did not set up this formation in a day or two. Now that old master has returned, they have not moved. They must be planning to hit with one blow. It is more than one blow. They are going to wipe us all out. Xiaohua sneered. They even want to kill the demons of Moyun Ridge and Lion Rock. In a while, you will pass down this old man's order, and let all the demons enter the formation. Ah! Lu Yi turned pale with fright. He did not have time to agree and hurriedly shouted. Old master, you must be careful. No matter, this is a good opportunity to cleanse the Black Cloud Ridge with this formation. This will save this old man the trouble. Xiaohua waved his hand and smiled. Oh, by the way, come with this old man. This old man found you a junior brother. You can teach him some language of the hidden immortal continent. Junior brother? Lu Yi beamed with joy. Old master just happens to be lacking a boy. Now one on the left and one on the right is just right. I still lack a girl. Xiaohua rolled his eyes and said snappily. Why don't you find little Yin and make her a jade girl? Lu Yi's brows slightly darkened. However, he smiled and said, if old master is like this little one will thank old master even more. Xiaohua stretched out his hand and flicked Lu Yi's head with his finger. He scolded with a smile. Wishful thinking. You should just obediently be a boy. Louis stuck out his tongue, a naughty look on his face. Chapter 35:11. Immediately, Xiaohua flicked his sleeves and brought Lu Yi into the cave like a breeze. Above the clouds, Jiang Yuming and a dozen white-haired old Confucians were standing in midair. In front of them was an oval mirror, which allowed them to clearly see the situation of Xiaohua and the others. Seeing Xiaohua so calm and unhurried, everyone was so angry that they almost vomited blood. Especially the few old Confucians, their hands were trembling. One of them even cried out, Yuming you, how can you be so patient? This little bastard clearly knows that the great formation has been completed, yet he still arrogantly handles the affairs here. This is clearly a provocation. Quickly, activate the great formation. Let's see if our noble qi will not turn him into mincemeat. Jiang Yiming's face was obviously not good. He hurriedly cupped his hands and said, Senior brothers, granduncles, don't be anxious. This Xiaohua's methods are really amazing. Didn't you see? He waved his hand and we couldn't see anything. His magic power is clearly higher than mine. That soul-sucking technique is clearly something a 4th-grade cultivator can do. Moreover, the lightning drawing technique and the lightning escape technique are both things that ordinary Taoist cultivators can't do. If my Jiang clan becomes his enemy, there is absolutely a possibility that both sides will suffer. Now the Copper Pillar country's monarch has spent a lot of effort to invite 4 great scholars to come and set up the 5-brocade cloud diagram with my Jiang clan. This is clearly a country's strength to resist Xiaohua. My Jiang clan only needs to follow the 5-brocade cloud diagram and activate the noble qi. That Xiaohua is definitely not the opponent of the cloud diagram. Why should my Jiang clan stand out alone? This is the 5-brocade cloud diagram? Is this the formation passed down by the Immortal Palace? An old scholar was shocked. Monarch, when did you have such a powerful formation? Jiang Yiming's face was filled with pride. He said with a smile, How could this junior dare to deceive granduncles? I didn't say it before because the Copper Pillar country's monarch gave strict orders. He was afraid that the news would leak and Xiaohua wouldn't dare to enter the trap. The Copper Pillar country's monarch actually obtained the Immortal Palace's formation? Another old scholar was shocked and asked the same question. Then he thought of something and said in a low voice, It seems that the monarch didn't go to war on a whim. With this formation map, what worries do we have in the world? Our Bronze Pillar country will definitely become famous in the hidden Immortal Continent, and become the #1 empire in the hidden Immortal Continent. The old scholar from before was very impassioned as he shouted. Jiang Yiming smiled and explained, This is the secret formation of the Immortal Palace. It contains the secrets of the 5 qis unification. I heard that anyone who can comprehend one of the cloud brocade will be able to ascend. This time, my Jiang clan will participate in the extermination of the Dao sect's remnants. After we succeed, we will obtain 5 chances to comprehend the secret array. Senior brothers and granduncles, please don't slack off. Haha Yiming, don't worry. You're just a Daoist brat at the 4th level of first elemental force. Although you're abnormally arrogant, I'm afraid that you're just putting up a strong front. If you want to give us an empty fort strategy, who wouldn't be able to see through it? An old Confucian scholar laughed and said, The monarch has set up such a large array to scare the monkey by killing the chicken, to let the other countries of the hidden Immortal Continent see the excitement, to let them see the methods and determination of our Bronze Pillar state. You tell me, how can we not join in the fun? We cannot make assumptions about the king's heart. However, senior brother, please don't be careless. Jiang Yiming waved his hand and said, 2 of my Jiang clan's juniors have already fallen in the hands of Xiaohua. One of them was even killed in front of the Bronze Pillar Academy's dean. According to that dean, this brat is very cunning. His flying technique is even more strange. After he succeeded in his attack, he immediately fled far away, making him unable to chase after him. Just now, senior brother also saw this brat's lightning movement technique. It's really impressive. It's said that Bronze Pillar Academy's 100 Children book array was broken by this brat. In his hands, Taoist spells can turn something rotten into something magical. But it's all because that old thing Northguo was careless. That's why he lost face and said that this brat is so powerful. Some old Confucian scholars were disdainful and said coldly, Even if he's a Taoist cultivator at the upper 4th level of elemental force, how can he be a match for you and me? If he's at the 5th level of elemental force, once he enters the Immortal Palace's immortal array, he still wants to escape? Jiang Yiming was helpless. He didn't know how to convince these old Confucian scholars, so he smiled and said, Let's not care about that. We'll just set up the array according to the previous drill. When the array is activated, we'll see the mystery of the immortal array. Not bad, not bad. Many old Confucian scholars clapped and laughed. Then they patted their foreheads and dozens of water lights rushed into the sky. In the sea of clouds around them, there was also a clear chanting sound. Countless noble qi rushed into the water vapor. The abundant water vapor turned into a mighty river and rushed into the 5 brocade cloud diagram. On the other side of the sky, there was a similar array. The person in front was wearing a Confucian scholar's robe. His forehead was protruding and his face looked rather simple. In his hand was something like a jade tablet. He was very calmly looking at the depths of the sea of clouds. Next to him stood another person. This person had extremely short hair and a handsome face. It was the Bronze Pillar Academy's judge, Do Shanjun, whom Xiaohua had previously defeated. At this moment, Do Shanjun's face was still cold. His slightly squinted eyes flashed with a trace of clear light. However, after a moment, Do Shanjun frowned and closed his eyes. After a moment he opened his eyes and revealed a trace of doubt. He looked at the calm old man in front of him and said, "Lord Academy Head, there's something this student doesn't understand. And feel free to speak." This academy head was the Beigo Jiming that Jiang Yeming had spoken of. Hearing Do Shanjun speak, he looked away and said coolly. Do Shanjun pondered for a moment and said, "In my opinion, before this Xiaohua flew down to Black Wind Ridge, he might not have been unaware that there was a grand formation waiting for him here. But why did he still charge in without any hesitation? Even if he charged in, he had enough time to save the Chongling princess. In order to lure Xiaohua into the formation, we did not spread out the 5 brocade cloud diagram earlier." "Haha, Shanjun, don't tell me you don't have an answer to such a vulgar question." Beigo Zhenming smiled faintly. Of the many Confucian cultivators who set up the 5 brocade cloud diagram, only you have truly fought with Xiaohua. How can this old man know something you do not know? Do Shanjun shook his head slightly, a strange expression appearing on his face. He looked at the sea of clouds and sighed. Well, this student fought with Xiaohua, but this student still cannot see through him. Based on this student's understanding of him, he may not have entered the formation. Back then, this student was not a match for Xiaohua, and when the academy had appeared he immediately fled. This fits the saying that a gentleman does not stand against a dangerous wall. Why did he change his personality today? Also, back then 100 days ago, he did not even dare to meet the academy head. Why does he dare to face the entire formation now? Unless Xiaohua's strength has greatly increased in these 100 days. This old man does not have to pay attention. Beigo Zhenming said with a smile. Is this what you are puzzled about? That's the only possibility. Do Shanjun nodded. But the problem is, while the Taoist sect's abilities are heaven-defying and far from what we Confucian cultivators can compare to, his Taoist sect disciples cannot surpass him so much in such a short time. There is no such thing as possibility or impossibility in this world. Beigo Zhenming said coolly. There is only occurrence and non-occurrence. We always thought that the Taoist sect's Xiaohua was hiding in the formation of Black Wind Ridge. Who would have thought that he had escaped long ago? Previously, didn't you say that Xiaohua was benevolent and would not abandon the people of Black Wind Ridge and flee? What about now? You and I are not saints. What we expect is far from the unpredictability of the world. Let's take one step at a time. Student understands. Do Shanjun nodded and sighed. It seemed that he had a very good impression of Xiaohua, who had defeated him. Hee, could it be that a hero cherishes a hero in his heart? Beigo Zhenming laughed again. Do Shanjun nodded again. He withdrew his gaze from the sea of clouds and said, although Xiaohua shook my Bronze Pillar Academy and even pushed down the entrance of the academy, when the matter of the old Taoist priest of the Seven Suns Temple came to light, there really aren't many people in the academy who can complain about Xiaohua. There aren't many people who have such courage and righteousness even among us Confucian cultivators. It's a pity that he's too conspicuous. Beigo Zhenming snorted coldly from his nose. He's just a lowly disciple of the Tao sect. Yet he actually dared to leave behind a blood tablet in the Seven Suns Temple, and even offended my Bronze Pillar Academy. That's not all. He actually dared to confront the king and save the orphan of the Jiang country. Look at what he did just now. He wanted to subdue the Golden Condor King and the Myriad Lion King, and take down the entire Black Cloud Ridge. What kind of place is the Black Cloud Ridge? The border between the Copper Pillar Country, Jiang Country and Jiasa Country. Previously, we might not have known the significance of this Black Cloud Ridge, but now, You should understand that there is a huge elemental stone mine beneath the Black Cloud Ridge. Previously, the three countries had sent out a large number of troops to divide the mine underground. Those three monsters were merely the chess pieces of the three countries. Xiao Hua's actions. Isn't that the same as courting death? As for the king setting up the immortal array with such fanfare, it was more to take the Black Cloud Ridge into his own hands. Even if it's the Jiasa country, and the other countries should not covet it. Sigh, student understands. Do Shanjun laughed bitterly. Whether it's the emperor's technique or the dragon's technique, student is still unfamiliar with it. It's hard to think so much. Since ancient times, the academy has been a leisurely place. Your character is relatively simple, and is not suitable for the palace. Beigo Jinming laughed. Of course, if you are willing to try, after this battle, this old man can recommend you to enter the imperial court as an official. I don't dare, I don't dare. Do Shanjun anxiously waved his hand. This student admits that he does not understand the hearts of people, nor do he know the hearts of officials. Hee, if you don't enter the world, how can you come out? Shanjun, you still have to think about it more. Everyone's path is different. Students naturally have their own path, and students still like to walk on their own path. Do Shanjun did not seem to have any intention of letting go. All right, this old man will wait and see. Beigo Jinming smiled and shook his head. It seemed that he thought highly of this Do Shanjun. He twirled his beard and laughed. You are my Bronze Pillar Academy's rare student. At such a young age, you were able to suppress all the other students to become a dean. This old man has deep expectations for you. Chapter 35:12. Just as Beigo Jinming and Do Shanjun were talking, the clouds woven from the five-colored cloud brocade suddenly froze. A layer of five-colored cloud brocade surged from one end of the sky to the other like a tidal wave. Then the entire five-colored cloud brocade covered the entire Black Cloud Ridge. As the five-colored cloud brocade fell, a loud and clear sound of metal rang out from the clouds. It turned out that the five-colored cloud brocade was instantly covered by a rolling blood-colored brilliance. Lung Chinga's golden spear iron horse has been activated. Let's see if the state teacher of the Bronze Pillar country can win in one strike. Beigo Jinming raised his eyebrows. A layer of earth and yellow energy appeared in his eyes. His pupils actually diverged, forming two overlapping pupils. Do Shanjun was naturally also concerned. He hurriedly used the clear eyes technique to look below the clouds. Inside the cave, Xiao Hua sat with his eyes closed. The black bear spirit and the others were not beside him. Even Xiao Jian and the others were not around. Only Lu Yi, who was on his left, held a horsetail whisk in his hand. He calmly looked to his right. Wang Bianfei was standing there curiously, looking around the cave. Everything was new. Wang Bianfei Xiao Hua sat on the high platform. He suddenly opened his eyes and said, "Yes, master." Wang Bianfei hurriedly retracted his gaze, and replied with a bow. "Master will go out for a walk. You and your senior brother look after the door." Xiao Hua stood up and said indifferently. Wang Bianfei did not dare to be negligent. He replied, "Yes, master. Disciple understands. Disciple will definitely seize the time to learn from senior brother. Disciple will be able to understand other people's words as soon as possible." Lu Yi at the side could not understand Xiao Hua and Wang Bianfei's words. However, he could guess that Xiao Hua was really reminding him. Sure enough, Xiao Hua said to Lu Yi, "Lu Yi, master, please speak. You have to teach Wang Bianfei how to speak normally." Xiao Hua said. "But master." Lu Yi was in a difficult position. "I don't understand what Wang Bianfei is saying. He also doesn't understand what I'm saying. How can I teach him?" "I won't worry about this," Xiao Hua said with a smile. "I've already taught him the qi refinement technique. If you want to know how to cultivate, you have to get it from him." Lu Yi's eyes lit up. He hurriedly smiled and said, "Yes, master. I understand. In addition, call the demons of Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Mountain into the formation. This old man has already expanded the array formation a little. It's enough for them to use." Xiao Hua flew out of the immortal's cave. As he flew, he said, "All of you must not leave the formation during the battle. The great formation outside the Black Cloud Ridge is no small matter. Other than this old man, no one in the Black Cloud Ridge can resist this formation. I understand. Lu Yi carefully followed Xiaohua out of the Immortal's cave. Wang Bianfei was also quick-witted, following behind Lu Yi in small steps. Similarly, he was exceptionally well-behaved. Xiaohua walked out of the cavern, only to see that his eyes were filled with the color of blood. Bugle horns resounded from the horizon, and the neighs of war horses resounded simultaneously. The entire Black Cloud Ridge seemed to have turned into a bloody battlefield. This is getting interesting. Xiaohua looked around, only to see the thousands of demons and many soldiers in the Black Wind Ridge. Although they had a kind of curiosity on their faces, there was no panic in their eyes at all. It was obvious that they were extremely confident in themselves. Under the Black Wind Ridge, the subordinates of the Golden Eagle and White Lion entered the formation in groups in an orderly manner. There was no panic at all, they were all in good order. After Xiaohua finished watching, auspicious clouds appeared under his feet, and he directly flew into the air. The black bear spirit in the distance very considerately knelt on the ground and shouted, "This little one respectfully sends Master off. I wish Master a triumphant return." The black bear spirit's kneeling was not important, but the Golden Eagle, White Lion, and the other demons all knelt down. "This little one respectfully sends Master off. I wish Master a triumphant return." Their voices were like the sound of mountains, drifting in the Black Wind Ridge. It was truly a spectacular sight. Looking at Xiaohua's hand, it seemed like he wanted to summon thunder to boost his might. Unfortunately, the sky was filled with heavy clouds. Where could the lightning be produced? Rumble. Xiaohua sneered. A green light appeared between his eyebrows, as if a deity was groaning. Layers of heavenly thunder immediately resounded above the Black Wind Ridge, like the sound of war drums. Xiaohua flew into the air, coldly looking at the place where the bugle horn came from, only to see that the horizon was crimson like blood. Layers of red clouds surged out, diffusing towards the entire sky. When Xiaohua just stood still, there was no wind, but as the clouds moved, a gentle breeze blew up Xiaohua's clothes. The black wind that just appeared stood straight in the wind, showing a kind of unyielding spirit. Woo! As if the sky changed, a kind of violent wind suddenly rose. Following the violent wind, the sound of the bugle horn became even louder, and then, a solemn and stirring chant floated over from the distance. "Grape wine in a luminous cup, if you want to drink, the pipa immediately urges you, lying drunk on the battlefield. Don't laugh, since ancient times, how many people have returned from a campaign?" Golden vulture plume, embroidered with swallowtail arc alone to raise the new order. 1,000 camps cry out together. In the dark forest, the grass is frightened by the wind. The general draws his bow in the night, looking for the white feather in the light. It is not among the stone ridges. Under the black moon, the wild goose flies high. Chanyu escapes in the night, wanting to drive away the light cavalry. The heavy snow covers the bow and saber. Open the field, the fine banquet. The Chang tribe's congratulations are in full swing. Drunk in golden armor dance. The thunder agitates the mountains and rivers. Adjusting the arrow and calling the hawk, all of them are out of this world. Rushing fox will rush the pheasants, sweeping the ancient hills. 7 leaves of the pavilion, empty and clear in a corner. He is inscribed in the Chilim pavilion, only he is not famous. Along with the sound of the bugle horn that made people's blood boil, many large inscriptions fluttered in the air. And within those scarlet clouds, there was an awe-inspiring aura that came crashing down, condensing in front of these inscriptions. In just a short moment, blood-red war horses were born. Not only that, the inscriptions flew high into the sky, condensing into a poem. Between each line of the poem, an awe-inspiring aura surged and overflowed, similarly condensing into several zhonglong spears. A chill, a smell of blood emerged from the war horses that were about to gallop, pouncing towards Xiaohua amidst the forest of sharp spears. Xiaohua laughed and said in a long voice, "It is often said that Confucian cultivators do not change their names, nor do they change their surnames. Now this Xiao has already been standing here for a long time, and not a single person has shown themselves. This kind of shady behavior, what qualifications do you have to dare fight with this Xiao?" A Taoist remnant, unexpectedly speaking such arrogant words. A voice that was even louder than the sound of the bugle horn came from the blood-red warhorse. As soon as this voice came out, all the clouds rolled back, and then a celestial that seemed to be wearing blood-red armor slowly appeared from the void. This celestial was more than 200 feet tall, with a thin face, a hook-like nose, and a pair of eyes that flashed with a cold light. Looking from a distance, this person was wrapped in a Confucian robe embroidered with mountain and river patterns. Various mountain peaks and great rivers were faintly discernible on the Confucian robe. That dignified and vigorous aura was emitted from the Confucian robe, and outside the Confucian robe was a battle armor that protected his chest and back. The battle armor was like a bind, with countless flashing inscriptions covering the celestial's chest and back, and a fierce beast head with a sharp horn on its head protecting the celestial's abdomen. Under the blood-red brilliance, countless strange runes flowed out from the battle armor, spreading along the torso to the celestial's limbs. Every time these runes flowed, countless small noble chi would be produced from the void, condensing into a spiral shape and falling on the celestial's skin. Looking at the celestial's hand again, it was holding a long spear. The spear was pitch black, without any luster, and the tip of the spear was without a sharp edge. It looked quite unfortunate. Who are you? The corner of Xiao Hua's mouth rose slightly as he looked up at the giant flying over on a red cloud in the distance. Who are you? The giant shouted. Since you're in front of the battle, how dare you not report your name? With the giant's roar, a murderous aura rushed toward Xiao Hua from all directions. Ha ha ha, asking without answering is rude. Speaking with a fierce voice is losing your mind. How can someone as disrespectful as you be a match for this Xiao? Xiao Hua laughed, his whole body flashing with golden light. With a wave of his hand, the wishful steel staff appeared from the space. His whole body slowly grew, and the wishful steel staff also grew. When it was about 200 feet long, Xiao Hua shouted, shaking the sky. Dao Sex Xiao Hua is here, who dares to fight? Xiao Hua's aura was like a rainbow, and the pressure of a nascent soul cultivator soared into the sky. Not only did it push back the clouds in the sky, but it also rushed toward the giant like an avalanche. This old man is the state preceptor of the Bronze Pillar State, Lungqinga. I've come specially to deal with you, a remnant of the Dao sect. Lungqinga also let out a loud roar, and slapped his forehead. A golden light flashed above his head and a golden spear flew out, forcefully blocking Xiao Hua's oppressive aura. Good. Lungqinga, let this Xiao see if you are qualified to fight with this Xiao. Xiao Hua didn't say anything else. He waved the wishful steel staff and flew toward Lungqinga. But before he could fly closer, Lungqinga's words almost made him faint from anger. Lungqinga swung his spear and retreated, coldly shouting, "This old man is the teacher of a state. How can I lower myself to fight with you? Let this old man see if you are qualified to fight with this old man." Damn it! Xiao Hua was furious. He abandoned the flying technique and lightning flashed around his body. He wanted to use the Imperial Thunder Guard, but the lightning was annihilated as soon as it appeared. There was no lightning in the Confucian cultivator's array. Seeing Xiao Hua angry, Lungqinga laughed and chanted, "At night, I lie down and listen to the wind and rain. Iron horses and ice rivers enter my dreams. Generals, kill for this old man." Lungqinga chanted word by word. Pillars of qi that penetrated the heavens and the earth were born from the 5 brocade cloud diagram, and suddenly rushed toward Xiao Hua. Following the command, the thousands of roaring blood-red horses behind Lungqinga broke free of their reins. At first, they were only the size of an ordinary horse, but when they rushed in front of Xiao Hua, they were dozens of feet long. They didn't seem to be inferior to Xiao Hua's Dharma body. Moreover, the momentum of the thousands of galloping horses cleansed Xiao Hua's nascent soul aura. What was special was that the thousands of galloping horses raised thousands of pillars of qi. These pillars of qi not only rushed to the sky, but also blasted toward the Black Cloud Mountain. The mountain that was originally filled with black clouds was instantly cleared. The pillars of qi hit the mountain peak, causing the mountain rocks to burst, trees to collapse, and the only river to be cut off. Chapter 35:13. Good, good, good. Xiao Hua's eyes flashed fiercely, and the staff in his hand became thicker and bigger. I will let you know who is the real hero of this world. I will kill all your men. Let's see what else you can rely on to fight me." As he spoke, he waved the wishful steel staff, and the pillar of great spirit that was heading towards Xiaohua was immediately smashed into pieces. Although Xiaohua's figure was huge, he was also very flexible. He did not resist the power of the great spirit pillar. Instead, he borrowed the power of the great spirit pillar. His figure flashed, and he kicked the warhorse that was rushing towards him. Pung! There was a loud sound, and the warhorse instantly turned into a red mist and dissipated in midair. Humph! Seeing Xiaohua so brave, Lung Qingge snorted. "You are just a child of the Dao sect. How can you be the enemy of my country? When you are exhausted, won't your bones become soft and your tendons become numb? How can you be my opponent?" Boom! Boom! Pillars of Aoranchi were either half a foot in size or tens of feet in size. They all fell from the clouds in the sky, carrying an unconcealable heroic momentum. They wanted to kill Xiaohua, but Xiaohua held the wishful steel staff in his hand and moved through the pillars of Aoranchi with ease. The pillars of Aoranchi turned the entire black cloud ridge red, but Xiaohua was still unharmed. The blood-red warhorse was indeed as strong as an iron horse, but in front of Xiaohua, who was like a god, it was really fragile. Not only did the iron horse collapse under the punches and kicks, but when Xiaohua's wishful staff touched it, the iron horse also turned invisible. It seemed that Xiaohua was the nemesis of these iron horses. Breaking into the array was like a wolf in a flock of sheep, invincible. Ha ha ha! Beigo Jinming, who was high up in the clouds, laughed. He pointed at the tens of thousands of horses and said to Do Shanjun, "Shanjun, as you can see, the militarists have always relied on the power of the army. When they saw that a little cultivator from Dao sect had good martial arts, they had no way to deal with him. It is really a disgrace to the face of the Confucian cultivators." Do Shanjun knew that the dean of his academy and the imperial preceptor were not on good terms, so he just smiled and did not say much. Suddenly, Do Shanjun's expression changed slightly. He said in a low voice, "Lord Chief, the imperial tutor seems to be using the golden dagger axe. Moreover, it seems like the immortal slaying crossbow and the god-slaying bow are hidden in this golden dagger axe. How insidious! There's falsehood in reality, and falsehood in falsehood. This is called trickery, and it's the way of the military." Beigo Jinming sneered. Didn't he rely on this to become the state preceptor? Sure enough, as soon as Beigo Jinming's words fell, thousands of golden spears emerged from the clouds in all directions, like a swarm of locusts flying toward Xiaohua. "So noisy," Xiaohua shouted. "Don't you have any real methods? Just these little tricks to scratch this Zhao's itch. What does that count as?" As he spoke, Xiaohua didn't seem to care about these golden spears. He strode forward like a wolf in a flock of sheep, and continued to chase after Lung Qingge. "It can't be." Do Shanjun was dumbfounded. He raised his hand and said, This Xiaohua actually didn't block the golden dagger axe arrow array?" Beigo Jinming also frowned and said in a low voice, "Daoist cultivators have a protective golden light. This Xiaohua's cultivation is at the 4th level of origin energy. I'm afraid he can block the golden dagger axe arrow array? But the immortal slaying crossbow and the god-slaying bow are precisely used to strangle the Daoist golden dagger axe arrow array." Do Shanjun was puzzled. Beigo Jinming looked up and down at Do Shanjun and said with a smile, "Shanjun, you know these secrets, but Xiaohua doesn't." Do Shanjun shook his head slightly. The interest in his eyes was even stronger. He felt that Xiaohua was definitely not as simple as the chief said. Sure enough, pa like rain hitting banana leaves, hundreds of golden dagger axes densely hit Xiaohua's golden body. The other thousands of golden dagger axes brushed past Xiaohua's golden body and pierced into the black cloud ridge. Rumble bursts of intense sounds came from the mountain ridge. The mountain ridge that was trampled beyond recognition by the iron horse array was now ravaged again. The mountain peak collapsed, the mountain rocks were shattered, and smoke and dust flew in all directions. One could see the power of these golden dagger axes. However, these golden dagger axes that pierced Xiaohua's golden body were barely satisfactory. These golden dagger axes were really like raindrops. They only made Xiaohua's golden body tremble slightly, and then slid down from the golden body. They were basically unable to pose any threat to Xiao Hua's golden body. Under Xiao Hua's disregard, another wave of golden dagger axes fell down. This time, Xiao Hua slightly raised his eyebrows as if he was aware of the abnormality. However, he still ignored it and allowed the golden dagger axes mix with the execution crossbow, and the god-slaying bow to land on his body. Needless to say, the golden dagger axes were still useless. However, the execution crossbow and the god-slaying bow were different. When the crossbow pierced Xiao Hua's golden body, thousands of inscriptions swarmed out and flashed with an intense light. They quickly tore apart the golden light of the golden body. A whirlwind that was sharper than a sharp awl emerged from the void and pierced Xiao Hua's golden body. Especially, the inscriptions on the god-slaying bow covered the golden body and annihilated the golden light. The incomparably sharp crossbow pierced deeply into Xiao Hua's body. Unfortunately, no matter how sharp these execution crossbows and god-slaying bows were, they were still mortal weapons. How could they pierce Xiao Hua's demon body that he spent countless efforts to refine? Hundreds of crossbows fell from Xiao Hua's golden body one after another, like the helpless thoughts of the soldiers of the Bronze Pillar country. Lung Qingge watched from afar with an extremely ugly expression. He really didn't expect Xiao Hua to be so vigorous. Moreover, he was also a rare body cultivator in the Dao sect. Wasn't this kind of person with a copper head and iron arms the nemesis of his golden spears and iron horses? The defensive formation that he painstakingly laid down now seemed to have become the reason for Xiao Hua's fame. This old man wants to see how you will break through the siege of the golden spears and iron horses. However, Lung Qingge was also anxious. Inside the 5 brocade cloud diagram, the righteous qi was extremely abundant. Whether it was the golden dagger axes or the god-slaying bow, they were almost endless. Even if the execution crossbows and god-slaying bows were gone, just these alone could exhaust Xiao Hua's strength. Who knew that in the time it took to brew a cup of tea? Xiao Hua raised his head and laughed loudly. Ha ha ha, old man Lung, so you only have so many tricks up your sleeve. Since you don't have anything new, then I will let you see this Xiao's tricks. As he spoke, Xiao Hua opened his mouth and the seal of the overturning sea flew out. Weng, the entire 5 brocade cloud diagram, didn't have any heaven and earth spiritual qi, but with a wave of Xiao Hua's hand, the seal of the overturning sea emitted an intense rumbling sound. In an instant, it expanded to more than 10 zhang. This Xiao Hua is too powerful. In the distance, Jiang Yeming's heart was also shocked. He whispered, "Until now, Lung Qingge has no more tricks up his sleeves." Only then did he take out the Dao sect's magical weapon. What he used to defeat Lung Qingge was only the Dao sect's insignificant Dao. Boom! Just as Jiang Yeming expected, when Xiao Hua's seal of the overturning sea appeared, the coiling dragon roared and rushed into the sky. Xiao Hua pointed his hand again, and the seal instantly expanded to several mu in size. As the coiling dragon swooped down, it immediately smashed the 10,000 horses into powder. "Old man Lung, your golden spear is only Xiao Hua sneered. "If you don't make a move, I will beat your disciples and grand disciples into minced meat. Looks like you really do have some tricks up your sleeve. Come, this old man will fight you for 800 rounds. After being bullied by Xiao Hua to this extent, Lung Qingge could no longer retreat. He waved the Damascus steel spear in his hand, and a series of sonic booms rang out, bringing with it numerous pillars of boundless qi that pierced toward Xiao Hua. Why would Xiao Hua be afraid of him? He waved the wishful steel staff and said excitedly, "Why would I need 800 rounds? If you can last 500 rounds in front of this Xiao will throw away his staff and fight to the death with you." When Lung Qingge heard this, his nose almost went crooked from anger. What kind of bet was throwing away his staff and fighting to the death? Even if you don't have your staff, don't you still have your magical weapon? But before Lung Qingge could say anything, the suffocating wind from the staff was already coming at his head. He couldn't afford to hesitate. Xiao Hua really overestimated Lung Qingge. Although Lung Qingge was a great general of the military school, and could be considered a peak cultivator of the 4th level of origin energy, how could his strength be compared to Xiao Hua's? Moreover, the moves and boundless qi that Lung Qingge relied on were nothing in front of Xiao Hua. Although Xiaohua had concealed his cultivation base to the nascent soul stage in order to not attract the special attention of the scholarly cultivators, after 100 rounds, Leng Qingge no longer dared to use his Damascus steel spear against Xiaohua's wishful steel staff. After another 10 or so exchanges, Leng Qingge was already stretched thin. Although Xiaohua did not use any kind of confinement technique, Leng Qingge felt that his hands and feet were bound, and it was difficult for him to display even 50% of his martial skills. Leng Qingge was a little anxious in his heart. Thinking back to what he said before, Xiaohua really did rely on his own strength to resist the power of the bronze pillar state. If he continued to fight with him, he might really fall here. Thinking of this, Leng Qingge didn't hesitate to clap his hands. Boom! Golden light flashed above Leng Qingge's head, and the golden daggeraxe that he had previously stored in his body rushed out again. A golden light suddenly appeared, and thousands of boundless qi followed the golden light and blasted toward Xiaohua. Moreover, where the golden daggeraxe was, there was a piercing sharpness that seemed to be able to pierce through the sky and directly into Xiaohua's body. Ha ha ha! Xiaohua was overjoyed. Seeing the blood-red color around Leng Qingge's body gradually disappear, and the bronze light around him flourished, how could he not know that Leng Qingge was about to use some kind of sword technique? Xiaohua laughed and clapped his hands. He simply gave up on the power of the flying sword and stretched out his nascent soul hand. He didn't digest it into a hand that was several mu in size, but only a few 100 feet in size. It firmly trapped the golden daggeraxe. No matter how red Leng Qingge's face was, he couldn't move the golden daggeraxe forward even half an inch. Just as Leng Qingge was about to be defeated by Xiaohua, a layer of blue cloud brocade fell from the sky like a rainbow, falling right in front of Xiaohua's nascent soul hand. From the brocade, thousands of wind, fire, and mountains rushed out to block Xiaohua's path. Chapter 35:14. Puff! The Yuanying's hand fell, and thousands of wind and fire mountains were crushed, turning into countless inscriptions dancing in the air. At the same time, the cloud brocade was also pulled down, turning into a mighty qi. Leng Qingge took advantage of this gap and hurriedly put away the golden daggeraxe, turned around, and disappeared into the clouds. Hee, it turns out to be a battle of attrition. Xiaohua put away the Yuanying's hand and coldly looked at the cyan cloud brocade rapidly emerging from the sky. Like the previous crimson cloud, it covered the entire sky. He sneered. This Xiao thought that the Confucian cultivators were trustworthy people. Only Leng Qingge and this Xiao would fight, and no one else would intervene. Since the Confucian cultivators are so shameless, forget it. Tell me your name. This one is Jiang Yeming. Jiang Yeming did not have a golden body of 20 feet. He appeared in the sky and faintly replied. The Jiang family of the Bronze Pillar country? This is really interesting. Xiaohua smiled as if he had seen his prey. He stretched out his finger and waved it a few times in the air. Have you washed your neck clean? This Xiao didn't look for you. And you actually dare to come and seek death? Xiaohua's behavior was tantamount to naked provocation and insult, but Jiang Yeming was not angry. He still faintly replied. The grudge between my Jiang family and you is a private grudge. The grudge between my Bronze Pillar country and your Jiang country is a national grudge. My Jiang family is now under the orders of the emperor to destroy the remnants of the Dao sect. It has nothing to do with my Jiang family's grudge. Using official power for personal gain is actually said by you in such a dignified manner. This Xiao is really speechless. Xiaohua sneered and pointed with the wishful staff in his hand. I don't care what your reason is. Since you are here, leave your life. We haven't fought yet. Who knows who will leave their life? Jiang Yeming raised his eyebrows, opened his mouth, and spat out a mouthful of cyan qi. In the air, the cyan cloud brocade that had originally covered the entire sky suddenly lit up, and countless inscriptions emerged from the clouds. These inscriptions were either jumping, flying, or cruising. As these inscriptions danced, a deep voice emerged from the void. These voices were either rhythmic or disorderly, but between each word and sentence, all the inscriptions gradually had a rhythm. Oh, isn't that the meaning of the 100-seed book array? Xiaohua looked doubtfully at the familiar array formation in front of him. He was very puzzled. He had used the Green Seal script to break the 100-child book array in the Copper Pillar Academy. How could this Jiang Yeming not know? Why did he have to use the Confucian Cultivator's book array again and again? But in the sky, millions of inscriptions first condensed into sentences, and then gathered into articles. Pieces of articles floated in front of Xiaohua's eyes, and sounds of recitation came from the void. The entire 5-brocade cloud atlas was solemn, as if he had entered a school. Looking at the place where Jiang Yeming was previously, Jiang Yeming's figure had already disappeared. Similarly, there were many inscriptions violently churning. However, what these inscriptions condensed was not an article, but a human figure about the same size as Xiaohua. Xiaohua swept a glance over, and understood that this was the so-called child, transformed from Jiang Yeming's true qi. The Z that could kill with words and poems. Boom. When the thousands of articles finally gathered together and condensed into books, 4 huge books flashing with blue light appeared in the sky. Wind. With a loud shout, the already formed character opened its mouth, and the first of the 4 books slowly opened. A gust of wind mixed with a clamorous sound rushed out from the book and rushed towards Xiaohua. Isn't this the method of my Taoist? You actually dare to show off in front of this Xiao. Xiaohua saw the hurricane coming and laughed loudly. He rubbed his hands and rays of light flashed. In front of Xiaohua, 100 feet tall yellow earth shield blocked the hurricane. Woo! Woo! Bursts of wind like the wailing of ghosts and howling of wolves collided with the earth shield. The earth shield flashed with a faint brilliance, blocking the hurricane without any difficulty. However, Xiaohua, who was behind the earth shield, felt a little strange because the earth shield did not block all of the hurricane. Some of the wind still passed through the earth shield and blew on Xiaohua's body. At first, Xiaohua did not care, but as the impact of the hurricane became stronger, the earth shield's brilliance flashed rapidly, and the wind blowing on Xiaohua's body also became stronger. In particular, the woo-woo wind was mixed with a strange sound. At this time, Xiaohua already understood that it was actually some common words. These words were clearly some inscriptions that Xiaohua did not understand, but Xiaohua's heart became more and more agitated with this sound. As his agitation became more and more intense, a kind of bone-softening and numbing feeling came from the golden body. Xiaohua was shocked. He understood in his heart that his Transcendence golden body was not simple. It was different from the Transcendence golden body of the Buddhist sect. It was based on his physical body, and was displayed using the heavenly laws embodiment of heaven and earth technique. Xiaohua was confident that this golden body could not be damaged by an ordinary flying sword. How could it be damaged by a simple hurricane? Boom. Just as Xiaohua was shocked, the earth shield that was as hard as iron and stone was destroyed by the hurricane. The wind whistled and drowned Xiaohua's golden body in an overwhelming manner. In an instant, thousands of noises, groans, curses, whispers, and all kinds of sounds fell into Xiaohua's ears. They entered both his ears and his heart. A kind of unconcealable agitation arose in Xiaohua's heart. This agitation made Xiaohua scratch his ears and his cheeks, not knowing what to do. The hurricane that blew away the earth shield fell on Xiaohua's golden body. Wisps of wind turned into inscriptions that were so fine that they could not be heard. Along with the fluctuation of Xiaohua's mood, they rushed into the golden body with this agitation. Boom. In just a moment, Xiaohua's golden body showed signs of collapsing. The surface began to scatter. Rumble. Xiaohua was very anxious. A green light suddenly appeared between his eyebrows. The lightning flash and thunder roll technique was used. Layer after layer of lightning covered Xiaohua's golden body. The inscriptions that came in contact with the green seal text immediately disappeared into nothingness. The thousands of noises were also covered by the lightning at this time. As soon as the noises and the hurricane disappeared, Xiaohua's golden body immediately stabilized. His heart also became clear. Granny, what kind of hurricane is this? What is this sound? Why is it so strange? Xiaohua took advantage of this gap to think quickly. Why am I so agitated? While Xiaohua was thinking, the coverage of the lightning flash and thunder roll technique increased. Not only did it cover the 4 books, but it also covered the Z book statue. These books and book statues all melted under the green seal text. However, These books were different from the ones in the Copper Pillar Academy. The green inscriptions between the clouds seemed to be endless. The amount of green seal text that melted was immediately replenished by the clouds. The speed was several times faster than the green seal text. Seeing this, Xiaohua finally understood Jiang Yeming's plan. He was now trapped in the formation. No matter how many green seal text characters there were, they couldn't compare to this Confucian cultivator's defensive formation. Their Z naturally wasn't afraid of being destroyed. It seems that if I don't understand why this hurricane is making me agitated, I'm afraid it won't be easy to get out of this situation. Xiaohua frowned slightly. In his mind, he recalled the reason why he was agitated just now. Wasn't it because of those noises? Thinking of this, Xiaohua closed his ears. However, even if he couldn't hear those noises, they still drilled into Xiaohua's heart like little insects. It was like a shrew cursing in the street. Even if you didn't want to hear it, those unpleasant words still fell into your ears, and even attracted your attention. Gossips? Rumors and groundless gossip? Suddenly, Xiaohua seemed to understand something. He thought to himself, these Confucian cultivators use words to establish their divine abilities. How can their wind be the same as the Taoist sect's wind? This wind is made up of words and carries a kind of awe-inspiring aura. The power is only on the surface, the words are still in the bones. These words move people's hearts. Xinqin once said that the 5 qis unification is to cultivate the 5 viscera and 6 bowels. Isn't this Confucian cultivator's secret offensive technique the 5 qis? The Confucian cultivator's wind is more focused on attacking the heart. As long as the Taoist sect's cultivator's Tao heart isn't pure and hasn't broken free from the bonds of the mortal world, they'll definitely fall into their trap. Confucian cultivators, oh Confucian cultivators, they're really scheming. Ha ha ha. Thinking of this, Xiaohua laughed and sang. My heart is clear, my will is righteous. I wish my heart to face heaven and earth. Why should I be afraid of others' rumors? My body is stone, my body is gold. I wish my body to stand in heaven and earth. I'm not afraid of others' rumors. My heart can accommodate heaven and earth. All things in heaven and earth are in my thoughts. My body can accept glory, my liver and gallbladder can be bright. Along with Xiaohua's laughter, the sound of lightning and thunder stopped. The Buddha's relics in Xiaohua's Naiwan palace formed the Akala seal and sat upright. In his middle dantian, the 3-colored heavenly heart protected his 5 viscera and 6 bowels and slowly rotated. The nascent soul in his lower dantian also calmly cultivated. It was like he was strong, he was strong, he was strong, he was strong. It was also strange. Xiaohua's thoughts were clear, and he wasn't afraid of 100 disasters. Although the wind was fierce and the rumors still entered his ears, Xiaohua didn't listen to them. He was like an indomitable man. He was independent and couldn't be shaken by the so-called rumors and rumors. His heart was calm and his body was firm. The hundreds of millions of inscriptions attacked Xiaohua's golden body. The golden body's light alternated between bright and dark without any signs of dimming. Instead, the golden light became more and more tenacious, as if Xiaohua was tempering his body. How is this possible? High up in the sky, the heads of the Jiang family's children appeared with true energy to support the child in midair. When they saw Xiaohua actually break the wind formation in such a short time, they were all stupefied. The most powerful element of the Jiang family's wind, forest, fire, and mountain was the wind. Who knew how many cultivators couldn't see through this rumors and slanders, and their mental state was destroyed by the waves? Words could kill people, but those that could kill themselves were just slanders. If one's mental state wasn't really bright and wasn't hurt by the world's rumors, who could escape this heart-destroying wind? Xiaohua was actually able to stand in the face of the wind. It was really too inconceivable. Chapter 35:15. This Xiaohua really has some tricks up his sleeve. Jiang Yeming's expression was still indifferent as he said. However, he was able to set up a blood steel in Seven Suns Temple, and bring the old Taoist's corpse into the academy alone. He is a brave person, so it's normal for him to be able to dodge the wind array. Let's activate the forest array. Let him see how powerful we are. Following Jiang Yeming's words, the huge Z in the sky once again stretched out its hand and opened the second book. Swish, swish, swish from the book, droplets of emerald green light flew out like raindrops, instantly covering the entire sky. Every green dot was a slowly rotating inscription. Xiaohua sneered. What kind of dirty trick is this? Obviously, since the Confucian cultivator could even use rumors, in Xiaohua's eyes, there was no trick that he couldn't use. After Xiaohua's cold snort, the hurricane swept the green dots towards Xiaohua's golden body. How could Xiaohua let these green dots get close to him? He rubbed his hands together, but the space within a few feet around him gave off a golden light, as if a golden glass was protecting Xiaohua. Xiaohua's golden light was covered by these green dots in the wind. Then the green dots began to expand, and countless tiny inscriptions gushed out from each green dot. At the same time, there was a mighty aura falling from the green clouds, and these inscriptions could be seen expanding with the naked eye. Xiaohua's golden light was not without cracks, and the green dots that fell from the cracks now turned into inscriptions, destroying the restriction in an instant. Damn it, this is also possible? Xiaohua cursed in his heart, and he was just about to urge his magic power once more. However, before he could move, he saw strings of inscriptions grow like clumps of tree branches within the entire grand formation. The roots and branches intertwined with each other, and they covered the heavens and the earth with the intention of imprisoning Xiaohua. Oh, this Xiao understands. Seeing this, the corner of Xiaohua's mouth curled up, and with a wave of his hand, dozens of jade talismans flew out. Rumble bursts of fireballs exploded nearby. These huge fireballs not only blew up the newly born branches, but also followed the direction of the inscriptions and swallowed the other inscriptions. Damn it! Jiang Yiming, who had always been calm, suddenly jumped up and said anxiously, This is the fire talisman that blew up Qin Qingyu's arm. So that fire talisman was refined by Xiaohua. Before Jiang Yiming could recover from his shock, he saw Xiaohua open his mouth, and a cauldron fell into the air. Xiaohua cast seals, and the cauldron expanded to hundreds of feet in size. Thousands of fire crows flew out of the cauldron. These fire crows whistled and rushed to the forest-shaped prison in the sky. Rumble! Rumble! All the inscriptions around the fire crows were burned. The forest array that was about to seal the entire space collapsed in an instant. The Dao Sect's treasure is indeed extraordinary. Jiang Yiming sat down absent-mindedly. He looked at his senior brothers and granduncles, who also looked unfriendly. His heart was filled with complicated feelings. That's right, even though the Dao Sect's treasures were extraordinarily powerful, what was behind this extraordinariness? Xiaohua fought against all his disciples by himself. His spiritual power was unfathomable. Suddenly, Jiang Yiming understood something. The king of the Bronze Pillar country set up such a large defensive array in the Black Cloud Ridge with the intention of killing the chicken to scare the monkey. Wasn't Xiaohua the same at this time? With the ability Xiaohua showed at this time, he was afraid that before the array was activated, or even at the beginning, he could destroy the array. Why wait until now? Xiaohua revealed his Dharma body and stood there calmly, countering each move as it came. It was as if the bamboo in his heart had already grown long ago. Thinking of this, Jiang Yiming's heart immediately turned cold, but at this moment, an old Confucian next to him said angrily, Quick, activate the fire array. Let's take advantage of this guy's complacency, and let him taste the power of our Confucian cultivator's fire. It's hard to stop halfway. Let's wait until after this battle. Jiang Yiming felt bitter in his heart, but since it had already come to this, how could he stop? Thus, Jiang Yiming gathered his thoughts and focused on fighting the enemy. Sure enough, just as Xiaohua activated the cauldron and used the Samadhi True Fire to destroy all the forest arrays, he was about to show off his power again and activate the flames to burn the 4 scrolls. Boom! The huge Z raised his hand and the 3rd scroll opened. Flames poured out from the scroll like a rain of fire falling from the sky. Xiaohua was somewhat puzzled. This Xiao is activating the flames. Why are they still using fire to attack? However, the fire of the 5 brocade cloud painting was different from Xiaohua's fire. The color of the fire was light green, and countless inscriptions flowed within the flames. Waves of noble qi rushed into the flames. This green flame did not mix with Xiaohua's Samadhi true fire. When the two touched, they even passed through. Damn it, what kind of fire is this? Xiaohua could be considered a cultivator who had seen the origin of fire. Whether it was the Samadhi true fire or the two-colored spiritual fire, they were all flames that were hard to find in the world. However, he still could not understand what kind of fire this green flame was. Because the flames had already reached his body, the golden light protecting his body could not stop them. Although the sky was filled with a rain of fire, Xiaohua did not feel the heat of the flames at all. Xiaohua hurriedly rubbed his hands, and several rays of light appeared. Layers of imprisonment appeared in the space near the golden body. However, the flame seemed to be formless, and simply ignored the imprisonment, and fell down with a whoosh. Moreover, what made Xiaohua shocked was that the closer the flame got to him, the faster it flew towards him. Especially when the flame passed through the imprisonment, it almost instantly rushed into his golden body. What made Xiaohua lose his head out of fear was that after the first wisp of flames entered his golden body, the second wisp, the third wisp, and even more wisps of flames were like 100 birds returning to their nest. In an instant, they crossed the space barrier and rushed into Xiaohua's golden body. Good. An old scholar behind Jiang Yeming clapped his hands and said with a smile, "Great success, this child is crippled." Jiang Yeming's heart clearly relaxed. He naturally knew how powerful the heart fire of the Wind Forest Fire Mountain was. This fire looked like fire, but in reality, it was not fire. It was the fire in the cultivator's heart. All magic power and divine abilities were useless against it. If one could not stop the heart fire before it entered the heart, as long as the heart fire entered the body, it would ignite the fire in the cultivator's heart. It would burn from the inside out. Even a 9th-grade essence power would not be able to escape. Unfortunately, just as Jiang Yeming's heart relaxed, he saw the flames filling the sky instantly turn into fireflies and rush into Xiaohua's golden body. Xiaohua was flustered, as if he wanted to use some divine ability to stop it, but unfortunately, not even a wisp of flame could stop it. However, all the flames that entered Xiaohua's body did not give birth to heart fire. The internal burning fire that Jiang Yeming and the others were hoping for did not appear. Even Xiaohua himself lowered his head and looked at his golden body in confusion. What's going on now? Jiang Yeming and the others were dumbfounded. Haha, after a moment, Xiaohua seemed to have realized something. He looked up to the sky and laughed. Jiang Yeming, your Jiang family has gone against the tide and harmed the common people. Now even the heavens are not helping you. Just wait and wash your necks. Let me chop off your heads. How is this possible? An old scholar was trembling all over. He did not dare to believe his eyes. Now that things have come to this, what else can we say? Jiang Yeming had already regained his composure. He said in a low voice, "Let's see the last mountain array." All right, that old scholar also gritted his teeth. I don't believe that this child can resist the 100 seedlings by himself. As he spoke, the green sea of clouds rolled again. That child raised his hand, and the last scroll opened. The smile on Xiaohua's face did not fade. He did not know the origin of the heart fire, but when his mind fell on his middle dantian, he saw that the crimson heart of the heavens was unusually dazzling. Many flames that rushed into his golden body disappeared after entering it. He already understood that this fire was the fire of the heart and lungs. It was one of the 5 elements. Rather than saying that the flames that filled the sky fell into his golden body because of the power of the array, it was more accurate to say that they were attracted by the crimson heart of the heavens. If he had not obtained the heart of the heavens, he was afraid that there would be some trouble. Let's see what the 4th scroll is. Xiaohua was full of confidence. He raised his head and looked at the sky. When the last scroll opened, the entire sky was shaking. Whether it was the wind or the forest, they all disappeared and turned into specks of fireflies. Endless chi of righteousness crisscrossed the entire space. Inside the scroll, an inscription the size of a thumb appeared. All the surrounding inscriptions let out a deafening chanting sound, and condensed toward this inscription. The 4 scrolls also flashed with a green brilliance and rapidly enlarged. In the roar of the entire space, everything condensed into a huge 4-sided mountain. The 4 scrolls flew to the 4 sides of the huge mountain and turned into 4 large words. It was Mountain of Literature and Sea of Words. Falsey angrily roared from the horizon. Both of his hands produced a cyan-colored cloud brocade and slammed it on the huge mountain. The huge mountain issued a rumbling sound as it fell down toward Xiaohua's head. Seeing the endless pressure coming from the giant mountain, the suffocating atmosphere was incomparably heavy. Xiaohua was not surprised, but happy. Ha ha ha, he laughed a few times. He did not take out the wishful staff. Instead, he formed a seal with both hands. The spiritual power of the whole body surged, and the power of the secret sex Buddhist seal rushed out with the power of the mountain. Boom! Xiaohua waved his hands, and a golden light overflowed. It was not clear whether it was the golden light of the Taoist sect or the Buddhist sect. Everyone only felt that their eyes were bright, and then there was a loud noise that shook the entire space. Xiaohua's golden light was like a demon god that could split heaven and earth. With his hands, the seemingly indestructible mountain of literature and sea of words collapsed. Whether it was the scrolls or the words, they all turned into inscriptions. Moreover, under the huge shock, these inscriptions turned into righteous qi. Puff 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 in the sky, Jiang Yuming and the others vomited blood. The child statue could no longer support itself and collapsed. The true qi in everyone's chest was swallowed back. Whether it was Jiang Yuming or the others, they had never recovered from the shock. They knew that Xiaohua was a body cultivator, but they never thought that a cultivator could cultivate his strength to such a level. The wind, forest, fire, and fire scattered. The Jiang family of the Bronze Pillar country was completely defeated. Chapter 35:16. Ding dong. The moment the sea of words collapsed, 2 clear zither sounds came from the void. 2 faint blue flowers bloomed in the sky. These flowers seemed to be too weak to withstand a gust of wind. They looked especially pitiful against the blue cloud brocade. It was as if a gust of wind was blowing the petals into the air. Whoosh! It was also as if the autumn rain was sprinkling down with flying petals, covering the entire sky. Ding dong, ding dong. It was as if an orphan girl was sighing in disappointment. A few more zither sounds came, and a woman wearing a palace dress slowly appeared at the end of the blue cloud brocade. Who are you? Xiaohua was an emotional person, so these few zither sounds made him a bit sad. He unconsciously stopped and asked. The woman stood on the cloud brocade. Her whole body was covered by the cloud brocade. One could only vaguely see her palace dress and figure, but not her appearance. The woman landed not far from Xiaohua and bowed. This concubine is by Hou Yuqin. I am in charge of the water brocade diagram of the 5 brocade cloud diagram. Fellow immortal Xiao is very powerful and easily passed through 2 formations. This concubine had no choice but to come out and greet you. 5 brocade cloud diagram? Xiaohua frowned and slightly nodded. I am very happy that fellow immortal Xiao can tell me the name of this formation. However, why don't you reveal your appearance? Wouldn't this fall into minor ascension again? Hee, fellow immortal Xiao is a gentleman. This concubine respects you very much. Bai Hou Yuqin laughed and said. This concubine originally didn't want to be fellow immortal Zhao's enemy. However, this concubine is a citizen of the Bronze Pillar country. When the country is in danger, this concubine has no choice but to face it head-on and use this water brocade diagram to fight fellow immortal Xiao. Of course, fellow immortal Xiao is very powerful, and this concubine knows that she is no match for him. Thus, this concubine will play a song here. As long as fellow immortal Xiao can hear the end of the song, this concubine will leave. This concubine has done her duty and won't dare to make things difficult for fellow immortal Xiao. However, once this concubine's appearance is seen by fellow immortal Xiao, this concubine's rain bell will lose some of its power. That's why I didn't dare to reveal myself. Please forgive me, fellow immortal. Bai Hou's zither retreated in order to advance. He clearly explained his difficulties and also explained that he used his zither to subdue the enemy. Xiaohua slightly nodded and smiled. Fellow immortal Bai Hou is right. You and I are enemies today, so there's no need to be merciful. Just use whatever means you have. This Xiao will naturally listen attentively and appreciate the wonders of fellow immortal's zither music. Fellow immortal, please. Bai Hou Yuqin slightly bowed and sat down. She waved her hand and a green brocade appeared out of thin air like a zither table. Bai Hou Yuqin placed the zither on the table and whispered, "I'll begin." Xiaohua's eyes narrowed as light flowed around his body. The golden light slowly shrunk and returned to its normal size. Then he placed his arms behind his back and looked at Bai Hou Yuqin indifferently. Ding dong, two simple sounds from the zither caused the entire formation to become silent. Xiaohua's heart jumped twice as if he was enchanted by the zither music. Xiaohua frowned. Xiaohua frowned. At this moment, the sound of a zither slowly flowed out from the brocade clouds in the sky. Along with the sound of the zither, inscriptions appeared on the brocade clouds under the zither. These inscriptions danced and flowed along with the sound of the zither, and quickly spread across the entire sky. In the originally dark green sky, the inscriptions intersected with each other rhythmically. Wisps of awe-inspiring qi gushed out. Gradually, these inscriptions began to transform. The night sky appeared, the stars dotted the sky, and the crescent moon hung in the sky. Not only that, willows began to appear on the left side of Xiaohua. On the side of the willows, there was a river flowing out. On the river, there was a river boat. On the river boat, there was a boatman standing at the bow of the boat, seemingly looking at the mountain range. The swaying willow branches were like the graceful figure of a beauty, but also like the lonely mood of a beauty. Between the willow leaves, there was a pavilion with a small bridge. Inside the pavilion, a beauty and a young master seemed to be standing facing each other, but also seemed to be hugging each other and crying. At this moment, a sad but beautiful voice came from the zither music. The cicadas are mournful, facing the pavilion at night. The rain has just stopped. The tent at the gate is empty, reluctant to leave. The orchid boat is activated. Holding hands, looking at tearful eyes, speechless. Thoughts go to 1,000 miles of smoke. The evening mist is heavy. Chu Tianqua is. Xiaohua had always been on guard ever since Bai Hou started playing the zither. However, despite the myriad of illusions, the sound of the zither didn't cause any abnormalities. Even his heart, which he was paying attention to, didn't suffer any attacks. However, when this sad but beautiful voice came out, the illusions before his eyes began to change. The willow trees, the pavilion, and the night scene all disappeared. Instead, they were replaced by a vast ocean. At this moment, there was a beautiful woman on the beach looking at him. That woman's eyes were filled with reluctance, love, and determination. Shue Xiaohua knew that this was an illusion, but he couldn't help but call out in his heart. This was the sorrow of cultivators. As long as it was an ordinary person, they might see another person in their dreams. However, cultivators rarely slept. Even if it was a short rest, how could there still be dreams? Although Xiaohua missed Shue in his heart and could see the netherworld lotus at any time in the dark side of the space, if he wanted to see Shue's appearance, he could only see it in his own memories. And this memory, even if Xiaohua's divine ability was strong, he couldn't force it to stay. As time passed, it gradually dimmed. Now that he suddenly saw Shue alive, how could Xiaohua not be moved? How could he bear to break this illusion? Husband Shue's voice was mournful. This concubine really wants to be husband's wife. Xiaohua's heart ached. An indescribable guilt spread out. He reached out his hand to grab Shue's hand. The scene before his eyes changed again. It was Shue holding the pink jade slip. Her eyes flashed with an indescribable bitterness. She said in a low voice, "Xiaohua, this is what this concubine wants to tell you. However, this is a secret. In the future, you'll know when you see it." Xiaohua's heart shrank even more. At that time he was so ignorant. He didn't know that what Shue gave him was her heart. What she gave him was her most precious life. Guilt involuntarily arose. Thinking about what he owed Shue, Xiaohua was almost willing to give up everything he had in exchange for Shue's life. The illusions changed again. The palace of the misty mountain appeared in front of him. The pitiful Shue was lying in his arms. Her sweet sleeping face was full of tears. Those tears soaked his clothes. Xiaohua's eyes couldn't help but shed tears. Yes, the careless him actually thought that it was the saliva of the sleeping Shue. However, he never thought that the Shue in the dream was still heartbroken. His heart felt like it was being twisted by a knife. This was the only feeling Xiaohua had. The sound of Bai Ho's zither was still echoing in his ears. Xiaohua clearly knew that this was an illusion. However, he couldn't bear to shatter this illusion. He would rather be intoxicated in this illusion. He would rather use his own safety in exchange for a chance to meet Shui. This was nothing more than drinking poison to quench one's thirst. Inside the great array, Xiaohua's body was surrounded by a green brocade. The green true energy in the brocade was like a needle piercing into Xiaohua's body. Xiaohua's body was originally flickering with a golden light, but it only flashed for a moment. It was as if Xiaohua had stopped it. In the entire space, besides the sound of the zither, there was also sorrow. This sorrow was even heavier than the green brocade. Time slowly passed. The brocade that previously only surrounded Xiaohua's body gradually filled the entire great array. Although the sound of the zither was still clear, it was also somewhat slow. The singing voice was also tactful and long. Sentimental since ancient times, the sorrow of parting is even greater. How can the autumn festival be neglected? Tonight, where will I wake up from my drunken stupor? The willow bank with the morning breeze and waning moon. This time, after many years, should be a good time in name only. Even if there are 1,000 kinds of amorous feelings, who will tell? Gradually, the song dissipated and the clouds parted. Although her appearance could be considered beautiful, she was still unable to resist the corrosion of time. The woman's face was already covered in frost. Her eyebrows were tightly knitted. There wasn't a trace of happiness in her victory. Instead, there was a trace of unhappiness from losing her heart. Congratulations, Fairy Bai Ho. A clear voice came from the distant horizon. It was the state preceptor of the Bronze Pillar country, Lung Qingge, who was previously injured by Xiaohua. Bai Ho shook her head slightly and said, "Young Master Lung, according to the agreement, this is the last time I will serve the country. In the future, if there is another battle like this, don't look for me." Hee, Fairy is too sentimental. Lung Qingge's figure had already recovered. He looked like a handsome old man. He didn't come forward, and just laughed from afar. This child is a remnant of the Dao sect. You saw it just now. His methods are powerful. This old man and the Jiang family are not his opponents. If you don't subdue him, I'm afraid the people of the hidden immortal continent will be plunged into misery and suffering again. Today's battle is a great merit and should be rewarded by the country's monarch for getting rid of a scourge for us Confucian cultivators. Unfortunately, before he finished speaking, Bai Ho Yuqin waved her hand. Clang clang, 2 sounds of zither rang out. The woman coldly said, "Young Master Lung's heart has long lost its rhythm. Now only killing is left. Young Master's state of mind is no longer the same as before. You can only see the blood on this child, but you can't see the tenderness in this child's heart. This kind of cultivator who is aware of the illusion, whose heart is as clear as a mirror, but who is unwilling to erase the thoughts in his heart, how can he set off endless killing? In my opinion, if we didn't force him, he might not have fought." Forget it. Forget it. Lung Qingge didn't want to argue with Bai Ho Yuqin. Hearing this, he waved his hand and laughed. Who cares if he is gentle or not? I don't care if he can set off 1,000 feet sea of blood. We only need to capture him and send him to the front of the palace. The country's monarch will deal with him, but at this moment, a faint voice sounded again. Who can bring this Xiao to the front of the palace? Lung Qingge, is that you? Why don't you come in front of this Xiao? Are you afraid that this Xiao will kill you on the spot? Lung Qingge turned pale with fright and said anxiously, You. Chapter 35:17. You. Bai Ho Yuqin was even more surprised than Lung Qingge. She looked at Xiaohua, who was completely wrapped in the green brocade, with disbelief. Following Xiaohua's voice, hundreds of golden lights that were even more brilliant than sunlight shot out from the green brocade. Xiaohua's imposing figure slowly appeared. A faint smile appeared on Xiaohua's face. His eyes were filled with a kind of relaxed and free spirit. When Xiaohua raised his eyes to look at Bai Ho Yuqin, he smiled and said, "I've finally seen Fairy's appearance. This refined temperament really complements your zither music. This Xiao has learned a lot from listening to your music. Thank you very much." As he spoke, Xiaohua slightly bowed. "I don't dare." Bai Ho Yuqin stopped being surprised and hurriedly returned the bow. Xiaohua used his gaze to look at Lung Qingge in the distant sky and said indifferently, However, Fairy Baiho said it well. When the music ends, the person ends. This Xiao should have won this battle, right? Lung Qingge saw Xiaohua's sword-like gaze and waved her hand. The brocade rose and disappeared again. Baiho Yuqin said helplessly, "Fellow immortal Xiao has already won. This concubine's technique is only child's play in your eyes. This concubine has really made a fool of herself." Xiaohua slightly shook his head. Fellow immortal is wrong. Fellow immortal's technique is miraculous. Fellow immortal's method of loosening the reins only to grasp them better hit this Zhao's weak spot. This Zhao's performance was not as pretentious as fellow immortal thought. This Xiao also had no intention of luring Lung Qingge into a trap. When Baiho Yuqin heard this, her face lit up and she said with a smile, "So that's how it is. This concubine is very happy. If the person in this concubine's eyes is also a scheming person, this concubine can only be disappointed in the people of this world." At this point, Baiho Yuqin hesitated and asked, "However, this concubine is a bit puzzled. Mr. had already fallen into the illusion and was unable to extricate himself. How could you easily escape now?" "Hee, it's very simple. Because this world has its own cycle of reincarnation. Life is death, death is life. Although death makes people feel sad, this death is also the beginning of a new life. If we cultivators only set our sights on death, how can we escape the cycle of reincarnation?" Xiaohua didn't hide anything and replied with a smile. "Moreover, the thing of love is something that exists. Regardless of whether it's time, separation, or life and death, it can't be erased. Perhaps the person is gone, but the love will always be there." Baiho Yuqin was beaming with joy as she listened. She stood up and respectfully saluted Xiaohua. "This concubine has received your teachings. Many thanks for Gongzi's guidance." Xiaohua waved his hand and said, "It can't be considered guidance. It's just that this Zhao's situation is rather special, so it's easy for him to understand." "Haha, comprehending is comprehending, comprehending is comprehending, comprehending is comprehending. There is no reason." Baiho Yuqin said with a smile, "After today's battle, I would like to invite young master Ling Yuanya to accompany me. This concubine will play the zither and wait for you." "All right, it's a deal," Xiaohua said with a straightforward smile. However, Baiho Yuqin smiled bitterly. Although young lord has passed this mistress test, there are still many more difficulties to come. Moreover, this mistress still has to. Xiaohua didn't wait for her to finish speaking. He waved his hand with a smile and said, "There's no need to say anything more. Inside the formation, we're mortal enemies. It's the good fortune of 3 lifetimes for this Xiao to have such a straightforward and upright opponent like fellow immortal. Many thanks for Gongzi's understanding." Baiho Yuqin slightly saluted. She stroked the zither in her hand, and a cheerful zither sound rang out. At the same time her figure disappeared. A bright yellow cloud brocade appeared from all 4 sides of the sky and rolled towards Xiaohua's location. Xiaohua understood that this must be the 4th transformation of the 5 brocade cloud diagram. He took a deep breath, and the primordial spirit in his middle dantian activated the 5 qi unifications technique. He slowly absorbed the noble qi from the great formation, and combined it with the true qi he absorbed from the heavenly heart to temper his lungs, heart and spleen. At his kidneys, a sharp pain caused him to involuntarily frown. Baiho Yuqin's sound attack was very powerful. In fact, Xiaohua was already injured, and under his own perseverance, he had already fallen into an illusion. However, just as Xiaohua said, Xue Xue wasn't truly dead. Xue Xue's death in exchange for true eternal life was enough for Xiaohua to escape from the illusion created by Baiho Yuqin. Although Xiaohua managed to escape, he also paid a great price. This sound attack's damage to his kidneys was far greater than that of the profound water palace's puppet. Xiaohua didn't have Xion's origin replenishing pill, so he could only wait until after the battle to find an opportunity to heal. Roar! A loud roar rang out. Before the bright yellow brocade could completely envelop the sky, a red-faced brawny man with flames burning all over his body, riding a strange demon beast, emerged from the depths of the brocade. His aura was monstrous. This burly man was over 10 feet tall, and was wearing a bright yellow armor. This armor was similar to ordinary armor, but it was engraved with fire patterns. The flames around the burly man's body came from these fire patterns. The brawny man had round eyes and a wide mouth. His yellow eyebrows were like two brooms, and his yellow eyes flickered with flames. His expression couldn't be seen. The brawny man's demon beast looked somewhat similar to the light beast, but it had no horns on its head and no scales on its body. Only wisps of flames were expanding and contracting as if they were breathing. Even the ground under its feet was covered in flames. The flames were like flowing tassels. Seeing this, Xiaohua smiled. Not to mention whether these flames were common in the Taoist sect. Even if they were the invisible flames of a Confucian cultivator, why would he be afraid? Hey, the brawny man flew closer, raised his hand, and pointed at Xiaohua. I'm West Buahong from Shallow Moon Ridge. Are you the Taoist sect Xiaohua? The Xiaohua who set up the blood steel in Seven Suns Monastery? I am indeed the Taoist sect Xiaohua. Xiaohua sneered. I've already broken through 3 layers of the formation. Could it be that Taoist West doesn't know? Ha 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 ha, good. I'm Lung Qingga's good friend. I didn't plan to help him before. Shi Buahong laughed heartily. However, when I heard about your actions in the Copper Pillar country, I was curious. I even personally went to the Seven Suns Monastery. The words written on the blood steel are still vivid in my mind. To be able to fight with a warrior like you is my long-cherished wish. Come come come. Let me see if you have the strength to set up the blood steel. Let me see if you're worthy of me coming all the way here. Damn it, Xiaohua couldn't help but curse in his heart. With one look, I can tell that this guy is a heartless thing. Since he admires me, he shouldn't be helping the evildoer. Now that you want to fight with me, do you think I'll still remember your kindness? Seeing West Buahong controlling the monster, waving his bare hands, the righteous Qi stirred up thousands of fire pillars. There was also an endless sea of fire that blotted out the sky and covered the earth as it rushed toward Xiaohua. The indescribable heat and the suffocating strength were more powerful than 10 fire-controlling cultivators. Xiaohua sneered. If other attacks had this kind of power, Xiaohua would have to be on guard. However, in the face of fire-controlling technique, Xiaohua didn't feel any pressure at all. If he was afraid of fire, how many people in the world wouldn't be afraid of fire? With a thought, Xiaohua waved his hands and displayed the fire-controlling technique. Sure enough, the surrounding flames slightly jumped. And then the flames suddenly emitted a brilliant brilliance. They danced a bit more lively than before. Ha ha, Xiaohua laughed. Looking at the flickering inscriptions in the flames, he waved his hands and several fire pillars were like fire dragons. They circled around his body for a moment, and then rushed towards West Buahong. West Buahong's red face was also surprised. He didn't expect Xiaohua to be able to control the flames in the 5 brocade cloud painting. However, since he was already here, what else could he do? The surprise only lasted for a moment. The flames in West Buahong's eyes jumped crazily. The flames around his body also soared to the sky. Between the waves of his hands, fireballs appeared out of thin air. They roared and rushed toward Xiaohua's fire dragons. Rumble, this battle was completely different from the previous one. The sound of explosions shook the sky, like thousands of volcanoes erupting. The entire area within dozens of miles of the battle was shaking. The flames in the sky were monstrous and thick smoke was rolling. The black cloud ridge was covered with scarlet flames. If Xiaohua's capital star array wasn't on the ridge, the entire Black Wind Ridge would have been scorched red long ago. See, not to mention Lung Qingga, even Do Shanjun, who understood Xiaohua, sucked in a breath of cold air. The strength that Xiaohua displayed was really too different from before. Do Shanjun was very clear about West Buahong's strength. If he had the help of the 5 brocade cloud painting, Do Shanjun wasn't sure how strong West Buahong could be. But even so, Xiaohua was still able to fight him as an equal. This made Do Shanjun feel even more incredulous than when Xiaohua defeated Lung Qingga. After all, Xiaohua relied on the golden body of a body cultivator to deal with Lung Qingga. Do Shanjun had already seen Xiaohua's immense strength. At this moment, Xiaohua's magic power was boundless. Do Shanjun couldn't help but turn his head to look at Sir Bagua Jinming of the Copper Pillar Academy. Bagua Jinming's eyes were also filled with shock. It was obvious that their previous worries had come true. If Xiaohua had this kind of magic power 100 days ago, Bagua Zhiming would be the one to run away. While Do Shanjun and the others were still in shock, the 5-brocade cloud painting underwent a new change. Xiao Hua waved his hand and dozens of fire talismans flew into the air. These fire talismans didn't immediately explode. Instead, they followed the fire dragons and landed 100 feet away from West Boahong. It was a kind of magic array that trapped West Boahong. Xiao Hua sneered. Fellow immortal, pay attention. Xiao Hua formed a seal in his hand, and the dozens of fire talismans exploded at the same time. Boom! A loud sound resounded, and dozens of fireballs rushed toward Shi Boahong like dragons playing with pearls. Roar! Xiao Hua's mastery of formations had already reached the acme of perfection. The fire talisman was even more so. At this moment, even if Shi Boahong wanted to dodge, he couldn't. However, 2 fire pearls suddenly flew out from his eyes. At the same time, the fire beast below him also roared loudly. A basket-sized Yaocore flickered and spat out. Chapter 35:18. Swoosh! The 3 fire pearls immediately formed a triangle and protected Shi Boahong in the middle. Rise, rise, rise! Shi Boahong roared 3 times. 3 masses of noble spirit rushed out from the void near the 3 fire pearls. With a boom sound, the 3 fire pearls were ignited. Immediately after, the 3 fire pearls exploded even more violently than the fire talismans. Boom boom. Whoa! The 2 intense waves of fire quickly collided together, emitting a whimpering sound like a hurricane. Moreover, the flames mixed with the golden brocade soared into the sky like a gale, blowing Xiao Hua, who was in the distance, to the point that his figure swayed. Xiao Hua was already like this. How good could Shi Boahong be? Admittedly, the 3 fire pearls exploded around him, reducing the impact of the fire talismans. However, under the violent pressure of the waves of fire, he was like a scarecrow standing under the sea breeze. Kacha! A series of crisp sounds rang out. The flames around Shi Boahong's body were immediately extinguished. The fire armor on his body instantly cracked and flew out from the waves of fire. In a moment, it was unknown where he was swept away. It was also at this moment that Xiao Hua caught sight of Shi Boahong's true body. His body did not have much flesh and bones, and his skeleton-like face emitted a faint golden glow. His eyes in particular were pitch-black holes. There were no eyeballs at all. In just a snap of a finger, the countless flames leaped out from Shi Boahong's body and completely covered him. Ha ha ha. Xiao Hua, you're really powerful. Shi Boahong was forced to this extent by Xiao Hua, but instead of being angry, he was actually happy. He laughed loudly and said, "This old man has never seen a cultivator who can force this old man to this extent just by relying on fire control techniques. Watch carefully." As he spoke, Shi Boahong flew up from the back of the fire beast. With a tap of his foot, the flames around the fire beast's body flourished. The noble spirit in the void crazily poured in. Even the golden cloud brocade turned into a waterfall and rushed down. The fire beast's body could be seen expanding with the naked eye. Pung! A loud sound rang out. And there were actually waves of chanting sounds. That fire beast actually exploded, and similarly, it enveloped Xiao Hua's surroundings for several hundred feet. Buzz buzz! The flaming beast's flesh emitted a series of rumbling sounds, just like a Tao sect cultivator's Dharma artifact. Following the rumbling sounds, every piece of flesh began to rotate. Not only did it absorb the surrounding righteous chi and golden cloud brocade, but it also absorbed the raging flames. Oh! Xiao Hua raised his brow as he looked at the flesh and blood of these fire beasts that had transformed into identical fire beasts. Sweeping them with his divine sense, he discovered that these fire beasts were not illusions and couldn't help feeling surprised. Roar! Tens of thousands of fire beasts raised their heads and roared at the same time. Tens of thousands of hurricanes swept away the flames that filled the sky. Without waiting for Xiao Hua to think, all the fire beasts pounced on Xiao Hua. This pounce didn't matter, but Xiao Hua only felt that the space around him was completely confined. A kind of vague circular space formed around him. Within this space, his transcendence energy couldn't be mobilized. His hands and feet also became heavier than 10,000 caddies. It seemed that Shi Boahong was actually able to use a secret technique to completely suppress the power of the 5-brocade cloud painting within this space of 10 feet. If these tens of thousands of fire beasts pounced on him, Even if his body was tough, he would still be crushed into meat paste. However, Xiaohua didn't seem to be afraid at all. He actually calmly stretched out his hand and pinched his chin twice, as if he was sizing up this earth-shattering wave of flames. This kind of confidence caused Shi Buohong, who was originally full of confidence in the sky, to feel greatly uneasy. Boom! Tens of thousands of identical fire beasts finally charged together. Xiaohua's figure was instantly engulfed by the flames. Shi Buohong's eyes seemed to see a huge firework that had never been seen before in the world. The space shook and fire snakes overflowed. This, is it over? Shi Buohong's eyes flickered with a fiery light, as if his heart was filled with doubt. He somewhat didn't dare to believe it. After all, facing such a powerful attack, Xiaohua actually didn't resist. Looking at the center of the flames, Xiaohua's figure was nowhere to be seen. If he wasn't killed by tens of thousands of fire beasts, what kind of ending could there be? Although Shi Buohong didn't dare to believe it, seeing the flames before his eyes flourish, the fire beasts that had accompanied him for who knows how many years had already disappeared, and Xiaohua's figure still hadn't appeared. Shi Buohong could only sigh. To be able to pay such a huge price to kill Xiaohua, he didn't know whether to be happy or sad. But at this moment, an indifferent voice came from above his head. Shi Buohong, do you have any other methods? Xiaohua? The fiery light in Shi Buohong's eyes flourished. He hastily raised his head. Sure enough, the unscathed Xiaohua was standing in midair, coldly looking at him. His eyes carried a trace of disdain. Correct, it's me. Xiaohua coldly smiled and said. In order to kill the enemy, you actually abandoned your own demon pet. I really don't know whether I should be happy for it or not, or whether I should be sad for it. Perhaps it was because Xiaohua was too sensitive, or perhaps it was because Xiaohua was also a cultivator of Buddhism, but when those tens of thousands of fiery beasts rushed towards him with indescribable solemnity, Xiaohua easily cast a fire escape spell and escaped from the deadly situation. It was also when Xiaohua escaped into the flames that he felt the fire beast's sorrow on the verge of death, that kind of reluctance to part with the world, and its attachment to Shi Buohong. This is my business. It has nothing to do with you. Shi Buohong was similarly cold. The flames around his body flickered with a piu-piu sound. What I want to know is, how did you escape from the Broken Tooth Beast's attack? Oh, so that pitiful fire beast's name is Broken Tooth. Shi Buohong, you really don't want to know how sad the Broken Tooth Beast was? You really don't want to know how much it didn't want to leave you? You really don't want to know how bitter the Broken Tooth Beast was when it lost its Yao Dan, as well as the pain of losing its life? Xiaohua looked at Shi Buohong and asked very calmly. Could it be that a victory is so important? I'm sure you've also seen that I don't intend to kill all of you. Even if you're not my match, no need to say so much. Shi Buohong waved his hand. I didn't think that Xiaohua, who could write the blood steel, would actually be so wishy-washy. You've really disappointed me. I'll say it again. Whether the Broken Tooth Beast lives or dies is my business. It has nothing to do with you. If you don't want to tell me how you escaped, then I'm leaving. If you want me to stay, then you can make a move. Since it's come to this, it looks like I'm absolutely not your match. Ai Xiaohua's voice showed the vicissitudes of life. He really didn't understand what Shi Buohong was thinking. How many times had Xiaohua been unwilling to let Little Black and Little Yellow, whether it was the Void or the Black Water Palace? Even when Little Silver and the Divine Power Centipede had come out of the space to take risks, this Shi Buohong had actually made the Broken Tooth Beast self-destruct. Shi Buohong, haven't you heard of our Dao Sex escape technique? Xiaohua thought for a bit, then sighed and replied in a low voice. 5 elements escape technique? Impossible. The flames in Shi Buohong's eyes shot out more than half a foot, and he was clearly particularly astonished. How can the Dao Sex 5 elements escape technique escape from my blazing fire array? There's nothing impossible in this world. Since you can give up the pet beast that you live with day and night, why can't I use the 5 elements escape technique to escape from your blazing fire array? Xiaohua's tone was already indifferent. Besides, our Dao Sex spells are profound and unfathomable, as numerous as the stars in the sky. How much do you know? Go, for the sake of the Broken Tooth Beast's dead, I won't take your life. Shi Buohong laughed coldly. Golden cloud brocade swirled around him, and his entire figure suddenly disappeared in midair. Even if you want to kill me, you have to look at the place first. Ha ha ha! Xiaohua laughed so hard that tears were about to fall. After listening to Bai Ho's zither, Xiaohua's heart really softened, and he shouted, "Ignorant brat! Truly, the ignorant are fearless." While Xiaohua was laughing, a touch of gray slowly appeared in the golden horizon, like a gray cloud in the clear sky. After this gray cloud appeared, it immediately floated toward Xiaohua, and he saw two people standing on it. Xiaohua put his hands behind his back and indifferently looked at that gray cloud. When it got closer, he unconsciously frowned, because on this gray cloud, the one behind it was precisely Doshan Jun that Xiaohua somewhat didn't want to see. Only the one in front of him with a simple face, wearing a scholar's robe. Xiaohua knew that he must be the Copper Pillar Academy's headmaster. Daosex Xiaohua greets headmaster. He still respected this headmaster, who didn't desperately try to kill him that day. After the gray cloud settled, Xiaohua extended his hand and cupped his hands in greeting. Beigo Zhiming also didn't dare to be negligent, and similarly stood on the cloud and bowed in greeting. Copper Pillar Academy's Beigo Zhiming greets fellow immortal Xiao. Oh, so it's Headmaster Beigo. Xiaohua stared blankly and blinked his eyes. You Confucian cultivators' names are quite strange. Previously there was a Bai Ho, and now there's a Beigo. Aren't you looking down on this Xiao's ignorance? Hearing Xiaohua's words, Beigo Zhiming's heart relaxed, and he said with a smile, us Confucian cultivators have multiplied in the hidden immortal continent for who knows how many years. Whether it's a compound surname or a single surname, they all have a very long history. In ancient times, there were compound surnames such as Fenglei, Fengjiang, Fengren, Fengfu, Fufu, Fufu, and so on. However, as the descendants of these compound surnames disappeared, the compound surnames also disappeared. Now, I'm afraid there aren't many left. Ouyang, Taisher, Duanmu, Shengguan, and so on still exist. Duanmu? I'm afraid the ones left behind are all Confucian cultivator families? Hearing the two words Duanmu, Xiaohua said with a smile. Beigo Zhiming nodded and said, my Beigo family can also be considered a 7th-rank family, and can't be compared to the Duanmu family. Xiaohua nodded, and pulled the topic back. Previously, this Xiao didn't see fellow immortal Beigo's true appearance, but now that I've seen it, it's exactly the solemnity of a Confucian cultivator. It can't be mentioned in the same breath as a certain person's handsomeness. It's no wonder that fellow immortal Beigo can become the headmaster of an academy, while others can only be the headmaster. Chapter 35:19. I wouldn't dare. Beigo Zhiming seemed to have seen through Xiaohua's narrow-mindedness, and understood that he was referring to Doshan Jun. He shook his head and hurriedly replied. Then, Xiaohua continued, also, I would like to thank fellow immortal Beigo for not blaming me for the offense of pushing down the gate. This Beigo Zhiming smiled bitterly. Fellow immortal Beigo doesn't need to thank me. I came here today to punish you, but seeing how mighty you are, how could I dare to say a word? I only hope that fellow immortal Beigo won't make things difficult for the students of my Copper Pillar Academy after you escape from this formation. Every injustice has its perpetrator, and every debt has its debtor. I understand this. Xiaohua smiled coldly, his gaze sweeping across the clouds like a sharp sword. If I don't kill those culprits, I don't mind staining my hands with blood again. Yes, I understand. I'm sure the others also understand this. Beigo Zhiming nodded and said, today, I was ordered by the monarch to set up the 5 brocade cloud painting, because I wanted to meet fellow immortal Beigo, and let others know how powerful fellow immortal Beigo is. Good. Xiaohua flung his sleeve. You all set up the formation. I didn't get to fight to my heart's content in the Copper Pillar Academy. Today, I'll have a taste of fellow immortal Beigo's techniques. I wouldn't dare. The techniques we use are for worldly affairs. Fellow immortal Beigo, please be careful. Beigo Zhiming cautioned very carefully. I know. Go ahead and use it. Xiaohua smiled faintly and waved his hand. The seal of overturning the sea rushed out of the space with a rumbling sound and blocked Xiaohua's body in an earthy yellow brilliance. Just as Beigo Zhiming and Xiaohua greeted each other, The gray cloud brocade had already covered the entire formation. What was different from the previous formations was that the ground beneath everyone's feet was also gray, as if it was an ordinary layer of earth. Xiao Hua's gaze swept over it, and immediately understood that this 5 brocade cloud painting was probably related to the 5 elements. Now it could be considered as earth. Sure enough, Beigo Jinming stood on top of the gray cloud and raised his hand. The tall crown fell off, and a head of gray hair fell down. Do Shanjun, who was standing behind him a moment ago, had already hidden behind the brocade cloud. Moreover, a moment later, he appeared in another place. Beigo Jinming's voice. Meng Xiaxi surges, lush greenery. My grief is forever mourning, and I gurgled into the southern soil. Kong Jing was humorous. Depressed, he bowed deeply. To soothe the feelings and serve one's will. To restrain one's grievances. Just when I thought I was going to make amends, I didn't do it for you. As Beigo Jinming's voice drifted through the entire space, the sky instantly darkened, and the earth fell silent. It was as if rain had descended from the void, but also as if there was a sorrowful noble qi gathered from all directions. A great river and the boundless black land on both sides of the river appeared before their eyes. Haha. Although Xiao Hua could sense Beigo Jinming's concern for the country and its people, and he could also understand the bitterness in his words, Xiao Hua didn't feel anything special. He only smiled and sensed a very strong earth-type spiritual energy from the righteous qi. The greenish-gray brocade began to solidify into a solid layer of earth. At this moment, Do Shanjun opened his mouth again. To the north of the mountain, the words of the qi are chosen. Together with scholars, they work day and night. The imperial affairs are dispirited, and I worry about my parents. Under the heavens, all is the imperial land. On the shores of the earth, all are the imperial subjects. The doctors are unequal, and I work alone. The 4 mountains are booming, and the imperial affairs are close. I am not old yet, and I am fresh in my generals. The military power is strong, and I manage the 4 directions. Or the swallow lives in peace. Or the country does its best. Or I lie on the bed. Or I don't work. Or I don't know how to call. Or I fail miserably. Or I perch or I lie down. Or the imperial affairs are in charge. Or I drink wine happily. Or I suffer miserably. Or there are rumors. Or I don't do anything. Following this voice, the awe-inspiring qi in the great formation rapidly transformed. The imperial court, the palace, the capital, the town, the army, the village, and so on swarmed out. A kind of indescribable majesty, a kind of awe that restricted the mind, spiraled around Xiao Hua like invisible shackles. Soon after, there was an extremely large amount of chanting coming from behind Yunjin. The world is vast, all is the imperial land. On the shores of the earth, all are the imperial subjects. The chanting was like a monk chanting sutras. Sentence after sentence, each sentence gave birth to a ring of awe-inspiring qi that was several thousand feet in size. It fell toward Xiao Hua like a tight hoop. This ring encircled another ring, and the rings were unbroken. Xiao Hua furrowed his brows and tried to escape in midair. However, no matter how he dodged, that ring would not disappear. It could always accurately find Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua smiled coldly and pointed his finger. The seal of overturning the sea rushed out, whistling as it pounced towards that ring. Boom like a thunderbolt, several rings were shattered by the seal of overturning the sea. They turned into dirt and slowly fell down, unable to pose any threat to Xiao Hua. Headmaster Bagua Xiao Hua smiled faintly. If this is all you have, then you'd better retreat. Bagua Jinming smiled bitterly. Xiao Hua's move seemed very easy. But the seal of overturning the sea was facing the attack of several hundred Bronze Pillar Academy students. Not to mention these students, even he and Do Shanjun did not dare to hold back just now. Taoist magic has actually reached such a miraculous level. Bagua Jinming sighed inwardly and hurriedly said, "Fellow immortal Xiao, thank you for letting me win." As they spoke, Bagua Jinming and Do Shanjun slapped their foreheads at the same time. 2 streams of true qi soared into the sky. As the true qi fell into the gray brocade, palm-sized dirt rings suddenly appeared in the air around Xiao Hua. These air rings were like bubbles, flying towards the space around Xiao Hua's body. There were rotating true qi between the air rings. These true qi were green-gray in color, and they displayed an extremely powerful suction and confinement force. Out Xiaohua was clearly caught unprepared. The surrounding space of several hundred feet was controlled by these air rings. Not to mention the true essence in his body, even Xiaohua's powerful physical body was practically unable to move. Damn it, I was a bit careless. I fell for old man Baigua's trick of luring the tiger away from the mountain. Xiaohua was somewhat regretful. His whole body flashed with golden light, and he struggled to move a few times. He wanted to urge his magic power to control the seal of turning the sea, but not only was his magic power unable to rush out, the seal of turning the sea was even tumbling in mid-air, not listening to him at all. What surprised Xiaohua the most was not this, but those strange air rings. The confinement force and suction force of these air rings were very random, and they were constantly changing. There were even more air rings, and they were like a layer of soil that wanted to drown Xiaohua. The most special thing was that there was a kind of aura within the air rings that Xiaohua was unfamiliar with. This aura gave birth to a kind of fear and submission that Xiaohua had never felt before. This kind of feeling had always interfered with Xiaohua's cultivation and resistance. Roar! Xiaohua roared, and the golden light around his body flashed again. He forcibly displayed the heavenly law embodiment technique. Xiaohua even waved the wishful staff, wanting to break this strange confinement force. Unfortunately, this confinement force was so powerful and so smooth. Under Xiaohua's wishful staff, dozens of air rings immediately slipped away under the staff's wind. The wishful staff had no place to exert force at all. As for the Transcendence golden body, it was suppressed by a powerful force, as if the whole world had fallen on the shoulders of this golden body, governing the world. Understanding this confinement that could not be jumped out, Xiaohua understood the power of the means of the Confucian cultivators. In addition to the ordinary power of the Tao sex magic, the Confucian cultivators also added the study of governing the world. In addition to the power of the mountains, this confinement should also contain the power of royalty and the power of submission, right? Ranger. When he thought of royalty, Xiaohua naturally thought of Yu Zhongquan. He looked at the air rings that were increasingly gushing out from the left side. Now there were hundreds of air rings, and he couldn't even move his fingers. He couldn't help but have a slight smile at the corner of his mouth. Buzz Xiaohua's whole body flashed with brilliance, and a bright sword light was born from Xiaohua's body. A heart shape slowly emerged from the sword light transform into a sword? Beigo Zhenming was so surprised that his chin almost fell. The inscription of governing the world in his mouth was almost interrupted. He really didn't think that Xiaohua would have the swordsmanship of the Confucian cultivators. And this swordsmanship had already reached a very high level. Just as Beigo Zhenming was surprised, a giant sword had already emerged from the hundreds of air rings. Xiaohua's voice was like the sound of the sword coming out from the giant sword, resounding throughout the entire array. The ruler is the head of the country. The ruler is wise and the country flourishes. The ruler is weak and the country is weak. The great hero is for the country and the people. The small hero is chivalrous and righteous. Although it is the ruler's order, no one dares to disobey. But I turned my body into a sword and asked for the people's order. The ruler is wise and the ruler is weak and the country is destroyed. Since you are the ruler, you should have the world in your heart, and the sea accepts hundreds of rivers. Today's ruler, for his own selfishness, I have a benevolent heart and want to turn the tide. I will kill you, and return the world to peace and prosperity. Kill. As he spoke, the giant sword turned into the shape of a heart and soared into the sky from the confinement. Moreover, the sword light was more dazzling than a rainbow piercing the sun. It easily streaked through the array, and a huge crack appeared in the gray cloud brocade. The entire blue sky and the earth under their feet cracked open, and the thousands of incantations stopped abruptly. Beigo Zhenming's face was ashen. Facing Xiaohua's sword attack, he was confident that he didn't have the ability to take it. Moreover, Xiaohua was able to defeat him as a Confucian cultivator. He was also speechless. Looking up at the equally shocked Do Shanjun, both of them sighed softly. They stretched out their hands, and gray cloud brocade appeared. Their figures slowly disappeared. The sword light was like a horse, and the sword intent was like a heart. When Xiaohua escaped from the sword, Thousands of sword lights entered his body. Xiao Hua raised his eyebrows and looked at the sky that was already empty. He smiled and said, Lung Qingge, this Xiao has already broken through 5 layers of the 5 brocade cloud diagram. Do you have any other tricks? Xiao Hua, I have to say this old man has really underestimated you. Lung Qingge's figure was now only about 10 feet tall. He stood in the sky to the east and said indifferently, however, if you think that the 5 brocade cloud diagram only has this much power, then you have underestimated the defensive array of my Confucian cultivator. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.